Welcome, everybody, to JCTV. I'm Josh Copperell, joined by Chris Graham. Today we've got Galaxy Cup Series at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, round 4 of the 2021 season. Chris, first of all, how are you doing?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you very much for the night off last weekend. Got to do some charity go-kart racing. And Chad Irvine, another of our regulars in the booth here, gets the night off this weekend. But yeah, really looking forward to 267 laps here around the 1.5 mile high banks of the Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
Definitely should be a good one. We've got, uh, another big field here tonight. All trying to get that first win of the season to put them into the playoffs later on this year. But so far, I mean, we've got Jason S. Taylor. He's up front in practice, followed by Zach Probst. But they definitely have the work cut out for him, as we've seen one team that has really dominated early on this season.
Yeah, the Dynamic Autosport teams have been absolutely fantastic thus far this season. They've claimed every win on the season, and it hasn't necessarily been the Dynamic team, so to speak, or the official team name, but also their DAS Racer team. They've got this car figured out early, and with the big update that's coming on Tuesday, it's going to be really important to try to keep that hot streak going tonight and keep your cars up front.
Yeah, definitely. So, and these guys, a lot of these guys that aren't a part of that dynamic crew, whether you're part of DAS or Dynamic or just one of those guys, you really, really have your work cut out for you. And hey, we are in Las Vegas. We could see somebody gamble to try to get that win and stop one of those dynamic guys from taking 4 in a row.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been having the discussion that the pit window for tires is anywhere from as soon as the yellow flies to, with the way the stages are working out, potentially about 40 laps. But at the same time, you can go up to 65 laps on a tank of fuel. If you run the math on fuel calculations alone, this could be a 4-stop race. If you're going to roll the dice that way, though, you better have a great handling race car, because they have a total of 10 sets of Goodyear Racing Eagles available to them tonight.
All right, Chris, just a little over 40 seconds left in practice. Who's your pick to win tonight?
Well, the Dynamic Autosport has claimed all 3 wins this season, and I think Dave Fuge continues that trend tonight. After a tough race last week at Homestead, saw him lose 5 spots in the standings. Fuge put it inside of row 2 to line up for tonight's race, and he looks pretty sporty here in practice as well. So Dave Fuge is my pick to win tonight.
I am going to go with somebody not from the Dynamic crew. I'm actually going to go with the number 25 of Terry Cooper Jr. The reason is, one, I used to be on a team with him over at Hillhaven Motorsports. I know he is a very fast race car driver. He's come over full-time in the Galaxy Cup Series racing for Radius Racing. And he's a fast driver, very smart. May not be fast early on, but that's just him playing out the field and waiting to pounce later on in the race. So I think Terry, he's going to score his first win in the Galaxy Cup Series tonight here at Las Vegas.
It's not a bad pick here, and yeah, Terry's going to be one of those guys who I think if he's able to make that car work for him the entire night, the way that he's, the way he wants that car to handle, that's what this whole thing is going to be about, is keeping the car up front. We've seen it in the real world, and it's especially true in iRacing. Passing can be very, very difficult here on these 1.5 mile speedways. So having that ability to put the car where you want it, conserve your tires, and make sure you're there at the end of the run, Terry Cooper's not a bad pick to get that done tonight.
All right, well, before this field starts rolling, which they are about to, earning the Majors Garage Pole Award winner, we got Robert Anderson followed by Brandon Figliola, Dave Fuge Jr. starting third, David Duke in fourth, Terry Cooper, my pick to win in fifth, Ty Ippolito in sixth, Mike Tellier starting seventh, Zach Probst in eighth, Jonathan Medeiros in ninth, and Dylan Kritz 10th. Chris?
Starting in the 11th position this evening should be Jake Hickson. Sean O'Brien going to line up to his outside in the 12th position. Brandon Proudfoot in the inside of row number 7. Dakota Knoll will line up to his outside. Row number 8 has Thomas Rutherford and Justin Boyles. Row 9, Cam Caldwell and Andrew Jones. Row number 10, Jason Taylor and Dane Cruz.
Starting 21st is going to be Joshua Gaiman. 22nd, Dylan Schmidt. 23rd, Brian Mabry. 24th, Philip Loy. 25th, Joshua Campbell. 26th, Alex Princeton. 27th, Jason Chambers. 28th, Cody Luke. 29th, Randy Drumhiller. 30th place, Kyle Amon.
Starting inside of row number 16, going to be Alan Rowell, and to his outside, William Boisvert. Look for that number 47 machine to come forward. Nolan Hodgson and Kevin Franks make up row 17. All alone in row number 18, Alonzo Chicano. Field making their way off of turn 4. We'll see the iRacing Ford Mustang pace car make that hard left-hand turn, and we're about to go green.
That pace car does make that hard left. Robert Anderson gets to start us. We are green at Las Vegas. Nice 3 wide.
Already seeing one move high to the outside, yeah.
Not sure who that is. That looks like the number 81, I believe.
Yeah, Justin Boyles caught up way out on the outside as they make their way down the back straightaway. The Nellis Super stretching in towards turn number 3. Nellis Air Force Base located right outside the back straightaway of the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Off of turn number 4. Oh, the 8, couple of cars getting up into the wall. Big wreck down the front stretch. Carnage here on the front stretch at Vegas.
We stay green so far. Now it is caution. That took a long time for the yellow to be thrown there. It's like
hearing some of the drivers talking about it over the chat there, that should have been a caution earlier than it was. That's something I've noticed in the iRacing sim over the last couple of weeks. The automatic caution has been very, very slow to come out here. That's going to be something that'll be really interesting to see as we progress here.
Looks like Terry Cooper got loose and got into his teammate, Mike Tellier, I believe. And sent Mike around. I can't really tell. 78 of David Duke, I believe, got into the back of Terry, but Terry and David Duke, Terry Cooper and David Duke were able to keep it straight. Mike Tellier got sideways in that number 53 machine. And everybody just kind of scattered.
Yeah, that's the thing when you don't get the yellow to come out as quickly as you might assume it would. A lot of drivers towards the front of that incident are seeing the crash happening. They're starting to check up. If you're even a row or two behind where that incident's happening, you're going until you hear yellow. It's especially when you get cars crashing into the infield. And I think that may have been the reason for the delay here, was just about everybody early on was in the grass. If you spin in the grass, iRacing's not going to throw the caution flag for that. So it really took a lot of cars getting involved before we saw that caution flag fly.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, we do have some cars in pit road. Probably a lot for damage repair for these guys, because I don't imagine that they'd be taking tires this early into the race.
Yeah, taking a look at who's on pit road, Joshua Campbell's been in. He actually pitted on lap 0. His pit time 5.5 seconds. A lot of 6 to 10 second pit stops. Several cars did take damage and got the repairs, though. Terry Cooper Jr., a 42.5-second pit stop. Ty Ippolito, 31 and a third seconds. 21.68 for Dylan Kritz. Has huge points ramifications here as well, because Kritz, Ippolito, these guys are right at the front of the pack in terms of points. And look who's up front here. With the exception of Brandon Figliola, everybody else who's up front in this race inside the top 5 does not have a win or a top 10 spot in the points.
That is just crazy to think about. Well, lights on the pace car.
One of the things...
Well, lights on the pace car.
See, the lights
off. Are... Go ahead, Chris.
Pace car is going to make its way off at turn number 2, and we're getting ready to come back to green here. Something else to keep in mind are the weather conditions, and it's currently 74 degrees out here on the racetrack. Track temperatures are going to be fairly high here. Little bit breezy. There was some discussion about how the qualification servers were set up and who qualified where, and a lot of these drivers may have been practicing and getting these cars dialed in for weather conditions that don't necessarily fit what they're racing on here today.
Yeah, and it's just might have been a mistake setting the session up. Something that the admins of the Galaxy Cup Series will have to keep an eye on from here on out. Make sure that we don't have that kind of issue again. But pace car is in, and Robert Anderson, he goes very early on this time. We are back to green.
Yeah, I would imagine Robert Anderson's thinking, get me on the way back to the strip as quickly as humanly possible here, because that's where the good food and the good cocktails are going to be afterwards. But the field going to be coming up. They're 2 wide, about 5th position back there. That's going to be Justin Boyles and Dave Fuse Jr. battling down the backstretch.
And Dave Fuse, he's got that draft and help on the bottom, but, you know, I was watching real-life NASCAR Xfinity Series race before this, and a lot of those guys were using the top line. How long do you think until these guys really try to search up there and start actually trying to make that work? So we do have some people searching up there, but not really up close to that wall.
Yeah, they're not up close to the wall yet. That one is going to be so track dependent in how the temperatures build up. Eventually, you're going to get the rubber buildup on the inside. It's going to force everybody to move up the racetrack. But I don't think it's going to be quite like Homestead, as we've got a battle for the lead into 1. Brandon Figliola looks inside of Robert Anderson.
A new leader off turn 2. He's going to be able to make it stick. And Robert Anderson's going to have to settle for second. But Justin Boyles, he is coming pretty quickly as well, trying to look for that lead.
Back about the 6th position, Dane Cruz is the first car that we're seeing really trying to make the outside lane work at both ends of the racetrack here. He has the 22 of Jake Hickson, the 32 of Jake Hickson right in front of him, the 22 of Dave Fuse right behind him. These dynamic cars really seem to have the setups figured out here, as Boyles now looks to the inside of Anderson in 3.
Really wasn't able to make anything happen there through 3 and 4, but he did allow the 12 of Cameron Caldwell to get side by side with him. It looks like
we're seeing more side by side racing than I thought we were going to see to this point. Is they're going to be almost 3 wide down the backstretch,
and I'm actually really surprised at what Boyles did there. Through 1 and 2, it just seemed like he was sliding up. I don't think he really has the grip that he needs. Kind of looks like his car is a little bit loose. He just might be fighting with the loose race car and not really able to get the turn in that he wants.
Yeah, especially with the high corner entry that we saw there in 1, where when you're being very ginger in your steering applications, that usually is a pretty good indicator that the back end wants to walk away on that race car. Still side-by-side battles throughout the pack. So everybody on the iRacing forums who says fix the dynamic tracks, you've got side-by-side racing going on right here.
Yeah. Cameron Caldwell in that number 12, he is just sticking to the side on that outside of Jake Hickson, the number 32. Caldwell, he's finally able to get that nose ahead, but go ahead, Chris.
It's a lot of really smart driving here because late in the race, I don't think you'll see that gap be a car width or two wide on corner entry into three like that. Right now, it's about being smart. Give the guy on the inside a little bit of room. If he makes a mistake, if he's got to catch a loose car or a tight race car, you're not going to get caught up in an issue. That's not going to happen 200 laps from now.
No, definitely not. These guys, they'll be fighting for every position possible, trying to get that one more spot towards the end of the race that they possibly can get. So we finally see that 12 of Caldwell able to clear the number 32 of Jake Hickson. Now he is looking to pass Anderson as well.
Yep, Cameron Caldwell is a very, very fast race car early on in this race. This really is the first kind of sustained green flag run after the caution flag on lap 3. Taking a look at some of the names that were involved in that, Ty Ippolito back up to 16th place. He's brought Dylan Kritz and Sean O'Brien back with him as well. Also, Alex Princeton and Terry Cooper Jr. run 21st and 22nd. Several cars still stuck in the back of the field, though, including Randy Drumhiller and David Duke.
Yeah, not the start of the race those guys wanted to have, but still very early on that they can just try to, figure out what, how their car handles now with some of the damage that they have, maybe get some more of it repaired under the stage cautions we will have, as those are the only two guaranteed cautions that will come out from here on out. So, just kind of use right now as learning curve. How can I use my car, push my car? How does it feel? And maybe later on we'll see some of those guys back up front, assuming that their car isn't too damaged.
Yeah, that's looking at the kind of where the pit windows are going to be. We would sort of expect them to split the stage in half. Somewhere in the ballpark of lap 40, we would expect to see the first rounds of green flag stops. With 10 sets of tires, the window really opens at about lap 26 or 27. That will get you on tires all the way to the end of the race, but I really don't think anybody is going to be trying to make 10 stops tonight. So well, we're hearing somebody's coming pit side here, but it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this all sort of shakes out with what pit strategy is going on. Looks like it's the 62 with Zach Probst. That's the car that's decided to come down pit lane. Zach was running at the back of the pack here, involved in that early incident. He's down 25 spots from where he started this race. So starting spot inside the top 10 is now a 33rd place run for Zach Probst in the 62.
And that's a big bummer for Zach Probst. He was a contender in last year's Galaxy Cup Series playoffs. I believe making all the way to the round of 8, and a lot of people doubted him that he could make it that far, and he proved a lot of people wrong. And he's back looking just as strong as he did to finish off last year in the season.
Yeah, Zach currently sitting 15th in points, and this looks like it's going to be an extended stop on pit road for the number 62 San Diego Padres entry. And battling still up front here, Cameron Caldwell and Robert Anderson going to duel down the back straightaways. Brandon Figliola, the race leader, enters turn 3, and just about a second behind them is going to be that battle for third between Caldwell and Anderson.
Anderson to the inside of Caldwell. Caldwell, he's been strong on the outside early on in this race, but has he maybe used up his tires a little bit more than he wants to?
I think that those hard attacks on the outside lane are going to use up the rubber potentially a little bit more than you might plan to, but it's also can be a strategy where running the outside lane, especially getting up towards the wall, you can really cool the tires down because it's just less turn that is required to make it through the corner. This could be a tire saving strategy a little bit on the part of Cameron Caldwell as well.
Yeah, he is a very smart racer himself. Maybe just once again trying to figure out how his car is going to handle. It's very early on in this race still. That maybe just experimenting a little bit, seeing where his car can go.
Only 23 of 267 laps in the books here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and Brandon Figliola is doing those dynamic autosport things, running away from this one a little bit. 1.7 seconds the lead over Justin Boyles, running in the second position. And then this three-car battle between Caldwell, Hickson, and Anderson. And Jake Hickson is a guy he's run up front. He's got a win already this season. Just continuing that hot streak for Dynamic Autosport.
Oh, yeah. And Hickson, he doesn't want to stop with one win. He wants to continue to rack up wins, as many as he possibly can, because all of those are playoff points. It's 5 playoff points for each win that you have, and that can really help you advance through the playoffs. If you have a bad race, those playoff points that you can rack up early in the season can really save you later on in the playoffs.
Absolutely. Saw a little bit of an issue there for the 3 of Brian Mabry. Made contact with the 53 of Mike Tellier, who now heads to pit road here. Seeing some smoke on the race course as well here, but that may also just be connection issue related. Tellier's on pit road. He's in already having made 55.8 seconds worth of pit stops today. Not the race he wanted to have. Yeah, it looks like somebody up front here is potentially having a connection issue, because seeing pretty heavy streams of smoke out of the front of the field.
Very possible for those connection issues.
Yeah, I have no issue calling it out. It's been a Comcast issue is what it sounds like. Even to the point that it affected the iRacing NASCAR Coca-Cola series. Multiple pro-level drivers all getting the boot kind of at one time here. That was a couple of weeks ago now, I guess, and or a week or so ago, and just an absolute mess of cars disappearing off the racetrack over the last few weeks. Looks like Zach Probst and Mike Tellier are both going to be out of the race. They have disconnected from the server, as has Brandon Proudfoot. So 31 cars still remaining on the racetrack, all of whom are on the lead lap.
And going back to those connection issues, we actually was having those issues as well in our, I believe it was the Daytona road course race couple weeks ago.
Yep. Yeah, Chad Irvine and I had a mess of a time trying to get that race called. Cars, I mean, it was completely, at least it felt like at the time, completely random. Who would disappear, when and how they would disappear. Some leagues had issues of basically ghost cars running, where the connection issue disappeared and the driver was at full throttle. So that car was continuing in a straight line at full throttle until it hit something. So even drivers that weren't necessarily disconnected were involved in those issues. So it's really been a mess, and the league administrators across the iRacing platform have done a pretty fantastic job of keeping order and making sure that season-long point standings don't get really blown up in the process. Something that I'm finding pretty neat here is how closely the real world is paralleling iRacing in this. We saw it in the Truck Series race last night. 5 and 6 wide on the restarts, and then everybody gets single filed out, and you kind of just build the gaps here. We're looking at the 32 of Jake Hickson and the 18 of Robert Anderson. That's really the closest battle inside the top 10 until you get back to Andrew Jones and Joshua Campbell. But for the most part, we're really not seeing big packs of cars running around here as we're already approaching the opening of that pit window for stops.
Getting pretty close to that. Anticipating probably on around lap 40, about halfway through stage 1. But it does appear Justin Boyles actually might be closing in on the leader, Brandon Figliola, ever so slowly, but he is getting up there.
Yeah, the gap coming down by, I mean, it's hundredths of a second that we're seeing the increment move by, but the lead that was over a second a couple of laps ago is down to about 0.6. In fact, Boyles had it inside of half a second as we get a great look at your top 4 coming off of turn 2 and down that Nellis back straightaway. How the strategies start to play out is really going to be neat to see, because at this point, even the cars that had to stop because of that early incident, they can't make the end of the stage without stopping. The absolute maximum we're hearing is about 65 laps on a tank of fuel, and we're going to lap 80 for the end of stage 1. So everybody is going to have to stop, including the cars that came into the pits. It really boils down to, when do you want to get into that danger zone? Does somebody back in the field try the undercut, get themselves on and off a pit road, and hope somebody else has an issue, bringing out the caution?
Yeah, we've seen last week the whole stage 1 and 2 went caution free. We have seen one caution already tonight for incident, but these guys, we now have a caution.
Yeah, trouble on the racetrack. Looks like the potentially, let's see, try to get a look at who that was.
15, it looks like, Alan Roel, and I didn't catch who that other guy was. 96. Dylan Schmidt just got into each other.
Yeah, hearing also Thomas Rutherford's, apologizing for getting into somebody. Yeah, a couple of cars making pretty heavy contact here in turns 1 and 2. Some of the cars don't appear to be too damaged. Looks like a little bit of rear end damage on the number 15 as we go on board here.
From Dakota Knoll's view, just great job by him. Realizing,
wow, what a piece of driving by Dakota Knoll. Holy cow. And now we're setting up here. In fact, everybody making their way down pit road. Figliola, Boyles, Hickson, Anderson, Taylor, Caldwell, Fuse, Jones. Everybody who's on the lead lap is on pit road. Is on pit road right now.
And I anticipate it will be 4 fresh tires and fuel for everybody here. I don't expect anybody to gamble right now.
I wouldn't think you would see the gamble here. I mean, if there was ever a time maybe to try a 2-tire stop, this could be it. But looks like everybody going to take those 4 Goodyear Racing Eagles 2 cans of Sunoco race fuel. 14.83 seconds for Brandon Figliola. In first, off first. He's going to be your race leader in the race off pit road. Justin Boyles at 14.60, 14.72 for Robert Anderson. Cameron Caldwell, 14.98, 15.18 for Andrew Jones. That's your top 5.
Great job by those guys, getting in and out pretty quickly. It's gonna. Drivers are going to be able
Looks
to...
like we've had... Go ahead.
Drivers are going to be able to make it to the end of the stage from here. And now with those 4 fresh tires and maybe what these guys have learned from the last restart, we had, and how pushing the car early on may affect tires. We're going to see here maybe some other drivers maybe try and take it easier, maybe some pushing a little bit harder than what they were in that first long stint that we had. It's going to be right around 40 or 41 laps to go when we go back green.
Yeah, and one of the guys who we talked about being involved in that early incident, Taya Polito, he's all the way back up to 8th position after a 14.8-second stop. So good work for the number 19 crew. A couple of drivers did have damage that they repaired during this stop, including Philip Loy in the 09. Dave Fuge was in his pit stall for 24.5 seconds, 28 seconds for Jake Hickson, also 20-plus seconds for Jonathan Madero, Sean O'Brien, Dylan Kritz, Kyle Ammon, William Boisvert. A lot, again, these point leaders are not having a real good day early here at Las Vegas.
Yeah, definitely not the kind of day they wanted to have. Shake things up pretty big here after tonight's race. Things continue to go the way that they have been. The lights on the pace car are off. Gonna be...
Yep, we're starting to get doubled up here. Brandon Figliola, Justin Boyle's going to make up the front row for the restart. Robert Anderson, Cameron Caldwell will resume their hostilities from row number 2. Jason S. Taylor and Andrew T. Jones in row 3. Iopolito, Josh Campbell in row 4. And Dane Cruz, Jason Chambers in row number 5 here. So taking a look at where our picks are, Terry Cooper currently running in the 11th position. Dave Fuge currently runs 16th. So neither driver showing a ton of front pace just yet, but there is such a long way to go in this one.
Definitely. What do you say, Chris? How about we do a turn it up on this restart and just kind of let the engines do the talking?
Sounds good to me, brother. Pace car off at turn 4. You heard him, folks. Let's turn it up.
Some great shots there. We had a little bit of action there. I believe 64 may have had a little bit of contact with help of the 19. Kind of caused a little bit of four wide action. They all kept it straight.
Yeah, and I will say potential candidate for save of the year goes to Philip Lloyd. Bounced it off the outside retaining wall in turn number 4. Never lifted off the throttle, but ran the entire D-shaped front straightaway in a straight line through the grass. Brought it right back up on corner entry into 1. Lost a ton of time on the racetrack, but a fantastic save for Philip Lloyd.
Let's see if we can catch that on replay. I actually did not see that.
So while Josh is over here trying to play-by-play and produce this show, and doing a fantastic job of it, by the way, we'll run you down through your top 10 here. Brandon Figliola is still your race leader. We'll say, call it about 1/3 of a second over Robert Anderson. Jason S. Taylor runs 3rd, Cameron Caldwell 4th, and Justin Boyles in the top 5. Josh Campbell, Jason Chambers, Dane Cruz, Joshua Gaiman, Jake Hickson back completing the top 10 as those cars battle side by side for the 10th position. In fact, going almost 3 wide into corner number 3. Big wiggle there out of Cruz. It looked like he's going to also lose a spot to Joshua Gaiman. This is kind of a let's get to the B side of the record deal here, because a lot of what we saw in the first half of stage number 1 we're seeing again here in the second half. A ton of intense racing early on in the run, and then everybody getting single filed out, getting some laps logged, and really trying to make sure you're put together and ready to go when it comes time to get to the end of the stage.
Yeah, these guys, it's very hard to pass once you get going, and then it's all about who protects their tires the best or who has the momentum. And right here we see a side-by-side battle between number 37 of Jason S. Taylor and number 12 of Cameron Caldwell. It's actually, I don't think it's going to be much of a battle between them. Now, Jason S. Taylor, he's going to be side-by-side with the 81 of Justin Boyles.
Yeah, Boyles, Caldwell, and Taylor, again, kind of continuing this battle we've seen throughout the race early. There's the kind of move you just saw it out of the 81 of Boyles. Got down underneath the car on corner entry and just lets it slide up the racetrack. It's going to get the pass made, but that is incredibly abusive on those tires. You almost have to give it a lap or two to let the tires cool back down and equalize in temperatures again, because it puts a lot of stress on the outsides of those right side tires.
Yeah, and you know, for the viewers at home watching, as an iRacer myself, actually competing in the series, taking the night off with the fire suit, being in the booth, you know, being a simulation, you wouldn't think that you know, tires would really fall off like that. But let me tell you, I mean, these guys have made it as close to NASCAR as possible, and those tire fall off. That tire fall off is real. If you abuse the tires, it will hurt you. And just like last week at Homestead for stage 1, I abused my tires really bad, and I don't even remember where I finished in stage 1. I don't even want to know, but it was pretty bad because I just abused those tires and ended up going a lap down because of it. It was hard to recover from that mistake by myself. And I was not able to recover from it. It just that's just an early mistake of being so hard on your tires, going a lap down to finish off stage 1, and it just affects your whole race from there.
Yeah, it can really be a mess. I mean, the kind of magic number is if a tire hits 300 degrees at any point, whether that's inside, middle, or outside of the tire, you're going to be in a world of hurt. I mean, to the point of snap oversteer if it's on the right side, especially that right rear tire. If you get the left front really abused, which the left front should be the coolest of the tires. Sounds like somebody's up in the wall. Trouble on the racetrack, going to bring the caution flag out here.
22,
And
Dave Fuge Jr., I believe.
I was going to say, the curse of the announcer strikes here is Dave Fuge has an issue on the racetrack.
Oh, I think he got turned by the number 3 of Brian Mabry, or maybe not by him, but definitely across Brian Mabry's nose.
Second issue of the night for that number 3 machine of Mabry, who he is on the lead lap here, but Mabry's been in the middle of a couple of issues here, and trying to get a look at what may have happened here to the 22 is you've done a fantastic job of getting the replay up early. Oh yeah, just tried to slide it up in front of the 3 and really clear without hearing the word clear in your the spotter talking to you in your ear. That's a tough break for Dave Fuge. He gets up and almost went over all 3 of Mabry.
Watching from the cockpit view of Mabry. Yeah, Fuge just come up right into Mabry. And tough break for Mabry there. He's just kind of an innocent bystander. And not
so
at all.
Cody Luke's going to get the lucky dog, and he'll make his way around here. Everybody but David Duke making a pit stop here at lap number 54. So we'll have a new race leader. I wonder if that's not just staying out to get the bonus point for leading a lap. Because I mean, you just talked about a few minutes ago about how important those points are. But Brandon Figliola is going to be the leader off of pit road. 14.75 on the stop for Figliola. 14.58 for Caldwell. Anderson, Jason S., Taylor, Justin Boyles. First 5 cars off of the pit lane, all in that 14 3/4 to 15-second bracket. For Goodyear Racing Eagles, Toucan Sunoco Fuel, the race off pit road.
Actually, I'm not sure why David Duke would stay out here, because there actually is no bonus point for leading a lap, or bonus points for leading the most laps. That is something NASCAR had gotten rid of a few years ago, and something that Galaxy Cup Series doesn't do themselves. So, yeah, we definitely see David Duke coming in the second time around. So that's going to leave the lead to Brandon Figliola, with Cameron Caldwell restarting second. So already our third caution in stage 1 alone, whereas last week, first 2 stages were clean and green the entire time. We didn't see our first caution for incident until the start of the third stage, in which we had 2 cautions back to back in that race. So already 3 cautions, and we're only 56, coming to 57 laps into this race.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the rate we're going here, the numbers kind of go out the window, but we are looking at, we're in the range of potentially 6 stops. So these teams should have tires left on pit road. Gonna get the one to go signal this time by. Is it too early, do you think, Josh, to start putting it in the back of your head of where do I want to be, especially if you're a mid-pack car? Do you start working that math with your teams? I mean, I know a lot of these teams are also having spotters, or at the very least, maybe somebody helping them out and trying to run the math a little bit. There's so much that goes on inside the cockpit of these race cars. Is it really even a thought that you really think about?
You know, at this point, it's going to be about 23-ish laps to go until we see the stage 1 break. I think a lot of these guys will realize that and start to push a little bit harder, knowing that you're going to have a caution here, guaranteed, in just a little over 20 laps, to see that stage 1 finish, and that's points. Top 10 gets points. So if you're not in the top 10, I expect drivers like Fritz, Princeton, Sean O'Brien, those guys to really start pushing a little bit. Make sure they get into that top 10 and earn some points.
Yeah, that's going to be the big one here. Is we're starting to get in towards earning that stage point. I mean, it's a big 10 points plus a playoff point to win stage number 1. Figliola is going to check out here just a little bit by, we'll call it 2 car lengths, as they make their way into 1 over Cameron Caldwell.
Some side-by-side battling going on for, I believe that's going to be 7th place, Joshua Gaiman, and I believe that's the 81? Or, excuse me, that is...
Yeah, it's the 81, the 61, the 9. They're all right there, piled on top of each other. Joshua Gaiman, Justin Boyles battling side-by-side down the front stretch and into turn 1. Just ahead of them, Jake Hickson and Jason Taylor are going to do the same thing.
Lots of side-by-side battling going on. We're going to have 3 wide off turn 2 down the back straightaway. And I'll tell you what, being in that middle, probably a 3 wide is the scariest part. Being
yeah, I would imagine you're somewhere between I'm tight, I'm snap oversteery, the car does not want to be in this lane, and it's just kind of a hold your breath until you get clear.
Exactly. When I'm in a 3 wide situation, I want to be the car on the bottom or the one on the top. I do not want to be the one in the middle, because it can be very sketchy if you're that car in the middle. We have another wreck. Caution is once again out for the number 36, Dylan Kritz. The 19 goes up in a upside down 84. And somebody else was involved.
That was Ty Ippolito.
Yeah, Ty Ippolito had a roller coaster upside down ride for him.
Yeah, try to get a look here, see what happened. Oh, there's just no room there. That was the 47 of Boisvert, got to the inside, and he may have even been on the apron on corner entry there. And it turned into an absolute mess of race cars heading up the racetrack. The thing about these progressively banked, and even just the steeply banked tracks for that matter, they're sort of self-cleaning. You're gonna slide from the top to the bottom. I'll say it this way: if there wasn't contact with Boisvert, it was at least not a move that you want to make at that point in the race. We'll say it that way. I mean, you're on fresh tires. I know you're trying to get forward, but that's way early to make that kind of move if I'm the driver in that situation.
Yeah, I believe here is the start of that caution. Maybe not.
Yep, no, it's coming right here. Yep, there you go, right at the end of the straightaway. Keep your eye on that black and red car to the inside.
It's like Critch.
I don't know that Boisvert quite got to the apron, but
yeah, Critch was definitely pushing Boisvert down. It's not giving a lot of room, and some hard side-by-side racing.
yeah, it's almost one of those where you kind of look at it, and ultimately it is the responsibility of the passing car to successfully and safely complete the pass. But you're also not just going to lift there, because at that point in the corner, I would imagine if Boisvert really checks up, it's just a ton of what's called trailing throttle oversteer, where you get off the gas, the weight shifts, and the car just wants to snap right around. That may have been a lose-lose all around for the 47.
Yeah, Uh, Definitely, I mean, he didn't want to see that caution come out. He was just trying to make a pass, complete pass, and it didn't work out too well for him. See a little bit of right front damage, just a little bit. Not sure it's going to be a whole lot to affect his car, but still more damage than what Boisvert wants.
Yeah, this is a racetrack that, while not incredibly as aero dependent as a place like a Daytona or a Talladega, any kind of damage on these race cars is not good. It's not the 1990s where you have a front valence and the car's sitting 6 inches off the ground. The front splitter on these Cup cars is a wing. They just call it a splitter because they don't want to say they have wings on the car. But ultimately, the aerodynamic properties of that splitter makes it act like a wing. Any damage you get on the front end of these race cars is really, really not good news for the handling of that car.
Yeah, and it can just affect your whole race completely, like change your setup from what you have been practicing all week long up to this point, what you have learned 64 laps now into this race. If you get that kind of damage, it completely throws off the whole setup, and like you said, the handling of it.
Yep, seeing Thomas Rutherford is now going to be scored as out of the race. Also, Terry Cooper Jr., not currently on the racetrack. He is showing 54 laps completed, so it looks like Terry Cooper also going to be out of the race. Dylan Schmidt, Ty Ippolito, Dylan Kritz, and Kyle Ammon all on pit road. Ippolito, Kritz, and Ammon are north of 4 minutes, in fact, approaching 5 minutes on pit road here. So even if they do get these cars fixed, they are well out of contention for the race. Dave Fuse Jr. was the one who got the lucky dog that time, so he'll swing all the way around and he will restart in the 23rd position.
So your pick is not out yet. Well, I shouldn't say yet, but he's not out. Still fighting back there, and see if he can get back up front. We're going to see the pace car pull off the racetrack and into pit road. And Brandon Figliola, he restarts the race, and big, huge lead going down the front stretch into turn one.
It seems like he's able to get pretty consistently out to about a 2-car length advantage. First side-by-side battle is going to be back there between, looks like, the 9 of Joshua Campbell, the 81 of Justin Boyles. Those cars will fight side-by-side on corner entry into 3. Currently, Gaiman has the spot. Boyles losing a little bit of ground. In fact, he's going to fall back, Campbell going to fall back towards Justin Boyles.
Now we're going to see side-by-side between Gaiman and Robert Anderson. Robert Anderson run the high line. He's not really moving forward too well here.
No, but the top 3 are not getting away from that 4-car battle that's side-by-side, at least not yet. So we've got to move inside. Cameron Caldwell trying to get around Jake Hickson for second, and Brandon Figliola is still right about a car length and a half ahead.
And I'm wondering if Brandon Figliola is loving the battles behind him or not. As, yeah, like you said, he's not really pulling away from these two. Cameron Caldwell, he is, he's getting a
big
trap.
Contact 3 wide off of 4. Caution is out here. That was Joshua Gaiman, got up into the outside retaining wall. Trouble for the 61.
81 of Boyles.
And yeah, that one. Heard the call over the in-sim chat here. Don't know why we have to go 3 wide there. You know what? I'll say it this way, when you're looking at, I have to make up a fistful of positions before everybody gets single filed out, you got to go. There's not a lot of time within which to work. Almost a little bit of contact. Looked like the 8 may have clipped the apron, or the 9, excuse me, just a little bit. Bounced up the racetrack. Let's see if get a better look here down the back stretch, but it's almost like the 9 of Campbell just barely clipped the apron. That shot him up the racetrack and right into the path of Joshua Gaiman. Justin Boyle's also involved in that one.
Doesn't look like Boyles and Gaiman will have any damage from that. They both just made a tiny bit of contact and went through the grass, and so I don't expect those guys to have lost a lot of speed or aerodynamic because of that.
Yeah, it didn't look like the contact was too hard. The front right of the 61 is pretty banged up. That car will definitely be a little bit slower, that is for sure. The 81, the right side of that race car looks surprisingly clean for the contact that was made. Looks like Justin Boyles might be okay here, but that car's been quick, and now he's going to have to restart outside the top 10. As for the 9 of Joshua Campbell, again, that car looks pretty spectacular at the front there for having a little bit of contact made. So soft enough to not damage the car, but hard enough to get people really moving around. So, and I will say I am a little bit surprised here. Well, here you go. Pit stops here on lap 68 for Cody Luke, Jason S. Taylor, and Randy Drumhiller. 5.23 seconds, so 2 right side tires for Cody Luke, 2 right side tires for Jason S. Taylor, and the 44 of Randy Drumhiller taking a couple of right side tires as well. Several cars on pit road still. Let's see, Dylan Schmidt in the 96. He's now over 16 seconds, so that looks to be a damage repair on that car. Ty Ippolito and Kyle Ammon also still sitting on pit road here as well. There's the 84 machine of Kyle Ammon. That car is junk.
Ty Ippolito's car does not look much better.
So we'll see. I don't know if any of the teams watch the broadcast here to try to gain any insight or see any replays, but the 2-tire strategy call has been made here. We'll see if Luke, Taylor, and Drumhiller are going to be able to benefit, as we should be down here to 1 to go.
We are on 1 to green. Going to restart on lap 72, so very short run to the stage finish, assuming we don't have a 6th caution in just this first stage.
And looking at the point standings here, Brandon Figliola is currently 6th in points. The playoff point is absolutely going to matter to him. Tam Caldwell is 5th in points. He needs the stage point. Jake Hickson, Josh Campbell, I mean, all of these names they need that playoff point. That will be a very, very big deal come later in the season. So don't think you're necessarily going to get to see Figliola check out here like we've seen the last couple of restarts.
I don't expect it. One thing that I have noticed is Figliola has gone very early after the pace car pulls down. just as he is doing so now. So you do that enough times, and the other drivers around you are going to catch on to that. So, eventually Figliola is going to have to play around and try to catch someone like Cameron Caldwell off guard on that restart. But Cameron Caldwell got a good restart that time around as well, and he is looking to try to take the lead over from Brandon Figliola.
Off of turn number 4. We're not measuring in car lengths, folks. We're measuring in inches. Big move to the inside by Caldwell for the race lead heading towards turn 1.
Side by side for the race lead. And don't look now, but here comes Hickson as well. Right on the bumper of Figliola. He's going to try to push his teammate to stay out front. But Caldwell does still have the bottom, and it seems like the bottom has really been where you want to be to try to make passes on these restarts.
Yep, the biggest thing it's going to get you is a shot at the apron as they come to the line. That one was tight. Figliola, the race leader, but it's measured in the thousands here. Hickson all over the back bumper of Figliola as they come off of turn number 2. Cam Caldwell with absolutely no help there. Figliola tried to throw the block just a little bit down the back straightaway. That's going to let Hickson come around him on the outside.
Now side by side for Hickson and Caldwell, and I think Caldwell might lose this spot to Hickson. And Hickson is going to be able to clear Caldwell now. So now Caldwell, he needs to regroup and try to, he gets a little bit loose there through the corner. I saw his car jump out and get sideways, but he needs to regroup, like I said, and try to calm down real quick and focus.
Going to be 5 to go in stage number 1. Figliola still the race leader, but now this time it's over Jake Hickson at the line. Something we're starting to see, the outside lane is starting to come in just a little bit. Hickson looks way to the outside. Caldwell going to get inside of him. Figliola not keeping that car down on the white line. You're seeing it move up. It's about half a car width off the inside white line in turns 1 and 2. Still down right up against the apron in 3 and 4. Caldwell going to hold on to the spot over Hickson. Now 4 to go in stage 1.
Caldwell using all that apron he possibly can to try to get the advantage. Cutting that dog leg. Hickson has the advantage so far on the backstretch, but Caldwell still all the way down on the bottom, close to that white line. Washes up just a little bit. Now I think right here is where Brandon Figliola is going to have a big advantage with number 32 of Hickson and 12 of Caldwell battling side by side for second place.
Yeah, Figliola's starting to open up just a little bit of a gap as Caldwell slides up the racetrack just a little bit. Hickson running about 4 car widths off the bottom. The biggest thing with that inside lane is you want to be able to arc the car out towards the outside wall on corner exit. With somebody else there, you just can't do it. And now Caldwell starting to fall back into the clutches of Robert Anderson.
So pit lane should be closed here now. That time by, and Caldwell, he still has a chance. If this number 32 of Hickson and Figliola, number 7, start battling side by side, which they will going into turn 3, that's going to slow them down to allow Caldwell, and not only Caldwell, but Robert Anderson just behind in tow to get up there. Now we have a battle for the lead side by side. Give the advantage to Figliola at the line. Not by much, as we are on the last lap for the stage.
Yep, 1 to go here in stage number 1. That big pocket of air that's getting opened up is going to let Cam Caldwell catch up just a little bit, but it's not going to be enough to contend. Figliola and Hickson side by side through turns 3 and 4. Figliola to the outside. Hickson to the inside. Hickson has the spot off the corner. Figliola with the big run. Drag race down to the line. Who's it going to be? Oh, it was tight, but give it to Jake Hickson.
Wow. Man, I tell you what. These races are fun to watch.
Oh, man. I will tolerate some caution flags during the stages if we're going to get restarts like that every time, because Hickson, Figliola, Caldwell, Anderson, those four guys put on a fantastic show here at the front of the field. And a big stage point, playoff point to Jake Hickson, and the 10 stage points will get added to Jake Hickson's total as well. Figliola, Caldwell, Anderson, Josh Campbell, your top 5. Dane Cruz, Joshua Gaiman, Jason Chambers, Alex Princeton, and Justin Boyles. The rest of the top 10 all claiming stage points.
Oh, man. What a finish we just saw there, but yeah, those guys just earned stage points. It definitely did not come easy, as we just saw there.
No, it most certainly did not. I mean, that one was a ton of fun to watch as these guys go, and we're going to see our next round of pit stops here. They will occur on lap number 82. Again, we're already into a scenario where stage 2 is going to end at lap 160. A pit stop right now without caution flags could get you to 147. So if this race starts to get themselves kind of single filed out and getting a bunch of laps turned, we could be seeing a completely different complexion to this race as race leader Brandon Figliola hits his marks. Going to be position number 2, Robert Anderson, by virtue of his pole lap, claims pit box number 1. The race off of pit road is going to go to Brandon Figliola. Jake Hickson right there as well. Figliola 14.5 seconds for Goodyear Racing. Eagles Toucan Sunoco Fuel. Jake Hickson 14.82 for the service on the number 32 machine. The 12 of Cam Caldwell currently running in the 4th position, 15.02 the stop on that one. 5th place, Robert Anderson, 14.88. Andrew T. Jones did not stop that time by. He last stopped on lap number 68, so that could potentially be a little bit of a strategy call here for Jones.
I actually noticed he was in pit road. He might have missed his box, but he is not going to come in. So, no, he's committed to staying out. But I did notice, I was wondering if he maybe had taken 2 tires or so, because I noticed him coming off pit road way before the others did. Interesting.
Yeah, he stopped on lap 36, and then he stopped again on lap number 68. So he's looking at being in that window of lap 108 to lap 133. I mean, the windows are huge here based on basically on tires. What's going to be kind of interesting to see here is if you go by that kind of every 40 laps where you're going to break the stage in half, if he hold the car, Andrew Jones is right in position to pit with the rest of the race leaders. I mean, his tires are not that much older. They're only about 14 laps older than what everybody else has on the race car.
Yeah. He does have a lot of damage on his car as well from previous incidents. I'm not so sure how his car is going to be able to handle up front.
It'll be interesting to see for sure, because the left front of that car looks like it has a little bit of damage on it.
Now he's
going to come to pit road this time. So much for the strategy call for Andrew Jones, but nice job getting the cameras pointed on him. The stance number 64 Chevrolet Camaro. And it's going to kind of sort everything back out to status quo here at the front of the field as we're down to 1 to go. Figliola and Hickson on row 1, Caldwell and Anderson in row 2. Dane Cruz, Joshua Campbell, row 3, Jason Chambers, Alex Princeton, row 4, row 5, Justin Boyles, and Brian Mabry. The 3 of Brian Mabry has been in the middle of multiple incidents tonight, but good run for that car. He's gained 13 spots since the drop of the green flag. A couple of hard chargers so far tonight. Jason Chambers is up 20 positions, as is Nolan Hodgson. So a lot of big movers here tonight. The big losers, Mike Tellier, Zach Probst, Brandon Proudfoot, all down 20 positions. Terry Cooper down 20, Taya Polito down 20, and David Duke as well. So a lot of shakeups in the field here so far tonight.
Getting ready to go green for the start of stage number 2. And once again, it's still going to be Brandon Figliola leading us to the green flag. And once again, he goes early. So if he has, any tricks up his sleeves, kind of, Vegas leaving some aces up there. I wonder if he's just, going early now, and if he controls this race late in the race and have some late cautions, and he restarts from the lead, if he might throw some of these guys off, very possible he might be trying to do that as well with a trick up the sleeve, but he's not able to get away. It's Cameron Caldwell once again right on his bumper, going down to the apron, trying to take that lead away. Side by side, going to be going
heading off
turn 1.
Heading off towards turn number 1, now already making their way off at turn number 2. Cam Caldwell looks to the inside. They head down the Nellis back straightaway. Caldwell still fighting for the race lead. He's looking inside of Figliola, just not able to get the move done yet. Big wiggle out of Caldwell.
Big save by Caldwell as well. Great save by him. It's going to cost him 2, possibly 3 spots here. He just needs to
Another
regroup.
Big save back in the pack as well. Trying to confirm who that one was before we call him out here. Yeah, Justin Boyles making a fantastic save as well. But yeah, looking at the front of the back to the front of the field here, Figliola and Hickson starting to check out just a little bit now as Anderson, Caldwell, and Campbell going to battle back behind them, and Bruce and Chambers still there as well. So 7 cars all within about a second.
Yeah, and I think right now Hickson and Figliola are going to work together, try to pull away from this the pack behind them. We are not at a place like Daytona or Talladega where bump drafting is a big key, but we do have a caution, and it looks like the number 95 of Nolan Hodgson possibly around. It is.
Yeah, trouble for the 95 as he comes off of turn number 4. Just got it loose. Big wiggle. He smacks the right rear quarter panel into the outside wall. Then several other cars making contact as well down the straightaway. Looks like Dave Fuse Jr. may have been involved in that one. He actually jumped straight to the pits. So, oh yeah, that was a very big hit there for the 22. Doesn't look like there's too much damage, but he comes to a stop and elects to take the tow as opposed to instead of trying to run the car all the way around. And Dylan Critch checking in on the chat saying, picking up lucky dogs like they're candy. Not quite there yet, but I believe he may be only 1 lap down by the time we get back to racing here.
I do believe so, and it looks like Dave Fuge might have been in the lucky dog spot, but because he was in the one of the cars part of that caution, he will not be eligible to pick up that lucky dog. But that is a tough break for Nolan. I actually noticed that we hadn't talked about him at all race long, and under that last caution, you mentioned about how he was one of the biggest movers in his number 95 machines. So not at all what he wanted to see, or even be a part of, I should say. It's having that caution come out.
Yeah, it seems like we have a bunch of cars that are just not having the night that they might want. Um, and it kind of is one of those deals tonight. It feels like when it rains, it pours. You're just, if you're not having a good night, you are really not having a good night. Here's several cars now making their way down pit road.
Yeah, I think about the only time Dave Hughes Jr.'s name has been called that's not been for an incident is when we were talking about our picks to win there, and him having a really good starting position as well. I think he started in that third position, and it's been downhill from there for Dave Hughes Jr. and the number 22 team.
Yeah, so they're we're sort of back into this pattern of get a handful of laps in, see a caution, get a handful of laps, see a caution. Um, Dylan Kritz, who was the lucky dog, last stopped here on lap 81. 4 cars electing to stop on this lap 91 caution. Jason S. Taylor, Randy Drumhiller, Cody Luke, and Nolan Hodgson. Again, they're sort of on that off strategy. That's the same 4 cars we talked about just a little bit ago here. They can almost make the end of stage number 2. Now, they would need some caution flag help. But with the way this race has gone, that may not be totally out of the question here.
Yeah, it's like we have a complete flip of last week. I know I keep talking about last week going first 2 stages going caution free, but like I said, it just seems like we have a complete flip of what we saw. And both these tracks from Homestead to here, they're both 1.5 miles, but these 2 tracks are totally different in character, and you can really see it here tonight. And I'm kind of surprised because if I were to think, if you would have told me before Homestead that the next 2 tracks, we're going to have one with a lot of cautions and one with not a lot of cautions, I would have thought Homestead would have been, the one with a lot of cautions, and this track here more clean. But, it's just a lot of the handling of the car, the setup, and these drivers, they're fighting these cars all the time with temperature changes, winds we talked about. It's once again, it's crazy to think about how much a simulator can be, that realistic. But I don't remember exactly what it was earlier when you were talking about the temperature, Chris. I think track temp might have been 74. If that comes back to memory. Track temp now, I believe, is 73 degrees with air temp of 75, so not a big change. We are seeing a little bit of a sunset now, so the track is going to cool, and it's going to start or continue to get cooler as this race progresses.
Yeah, and actually even to the point of, if memory serves me correctly here, I don't think the lights come on automatically here. You either have lights when you start or you don't. Even light could potentially come into play here with how this race is running. Nolan Hodgson just said the same thing over the in-sim chat. This is going to be really interesting to see how this race plays out.
We are going back to green, and it looks like Figliola actually waited just a little bit longer that time before he got on the gas. Something I just keep noticing out of him is he keeps restarting the field from that lead position. And Caldwell, he's been really strong on these restarts. He looks to continue to be
making
strong.
Their way into turns 3 and 4. It's going to be Caldwell and Anderson side by side. They're doing the same dance in stage 2 as they did in stage number 1 here. And when you start talking about the potential of a race ending early, you've just added an entirely new element of I gotta go now. The battle for the front is heating up. Figliola still has the race lead, but Jake Hickson's going to look to his inside going into 3.
And it looks like Hickson is going to be able to complete the pass, maybe. He will be able to complete the pass, and that opens up the door for Caldwell to get side by side with Figliola. Now Hickson, he goes up to the top. Caldwell is staying on the bottom. Caldwell just inching ahead ever so slightly through the turn. I think Figliola just got into the wall there.
Yeah, he may have, because Caldwell pretty rapidly gained on the race leader here. We'll see if it did any real damage to the 7. It doesn't necessarily look so, but putting lap number 98 on the scoreboard here. Hickson, Caldwell, and Figliola going to continue this duel, and the guy with the best view of it all is the 18 of Robert Anderson.
And Robert, he wants to see these guys continue to be side by side, so that slows them down. Maybe he's able to get into a 3-wide situation, pass them very easily, but doesn't look like that's what's going to happen. As we're single file now, and Caldwell, he has his sights set on number 32 of Hickson for the lead.
It kind of looks like everybody getting single filed out here. So, I mean, the gaps are consistent between 1/10 and 3/10 of a second all the way back through 15th place. And the first real side-by-side or close battle is going to be Philip Loy on the 37 of Jason Taylor, but that's all the way back for 15th.
And Figliola, he is not going away now as we have, once again, side-by-side for the lead, but I think Caldwell might have hit the apron, slowed him down just a tad bit. Now Figliola, he's going to go to the outside, try to get around Cameron Caldwell, number 12.
It was a big momentum loss there for Cam Caldwell. Clipped the apron just a little bit. Didn't even notice that big of a bobble, but it was enough of a momentum loss that it really allowed Figliola to catch back in. As this track starts to cool off, I think you're going to see more lines start to open up. You have less worry about overheating your tires and overcooking the tires. We're only about 18 laps into the tire run here, but it will be definitely interesting to see here. Is the only car who's really making any ground that stopped on lap 91 is Jason S. Taylor. So this is going to stay pretty front heavy from here on out, I think.
Most definitely. And Hickson, he's not able to pull away. We've seen Figliola with the clean air be able to pull away, but Caldwell just will not leave Hickson alone. As he is just right there, getting the draft off Hickson. Going all the way down to the apron once again, trying to straighten the corner out. Or not corner necessarily, but that dogleg curve.
Making their way down the backstretch. I mean, the laps are ticking off here in a hurry. In fact, best lap times for everybody at the front of the field, all within a couple 100ths of a second of each other in the 29-second range, but up at about 30.5 seconds per lap. So we are seeing the tire fall off start to come into play just a little bit here as Caldwell holds on to that runner-up position over Figliola, who looks just a little bit high off of turn 2.
And Figliola was actually faster than Caldwell that time by, and what's going to show here is he looks to the inside of Caldwell. Side by side, I think Figliola may have gotten a little bit tight. He had to back out of it. And that allowed Caldwell to get clear and pull away by about a car length on number 7.
Finally starting to see the field get into a position where we're logging some laps. The top 5 is all spread out and pretty content with where they're running. Maybe we can slide back here just a little bit, pick up the 40 of Dane Cruz. That's going to be the closest battles on the racetrack, and it's actually a 4-car duel. Sean O'Brien just out of the left side of the frame there. The 11 of Jason Chambers, Dane Cruz in the 40, and the 5 of Alex Brinson. that's the closest fight we have here inside the top 10.
Princeton, another guy we've not talked about really all race long. He's going to look to the inside of Dane Cruz, but not able to make anything of it as he just tucks right back in behind the number 40.
Seems like a whole lot of get me to the end of the stage, or at least get me to the pit window here, because we're now down to about 13 laps remaining before we hit the opening of the pit window for all your front runners. Even with the caution flag that we had, there really hasn't been any incentive to pit. The window, though, is open now. So the strategy plays are definitely going to start to come in here because you can make the end of the stage from this point.
We got side-by-side battle. Well, it was side-by-side battle with the 81 and the 47. Now, Jason S. Taylor, he's looking underneath William Boisvert.
Yeah, Taylor's that one car that's been on the move after stopping at lap number 91. He comes easily around William Boisvert, and he's going to go straight on the attack on Justin Boyles. Boyles has spent as much time on the front straightaway grass here as I spend in the rough on a golf course. Just ahead of them, a side-by-side battle. Looks like that's going to be Sean O'Brien and Jason Peters, I believe. That one single files out as soon as we start talking about them. But yeah, this is kind of get what you can get here. You're not going to make up big chunks of positions. It's about how can I make up 5 car lengths here? How can I make up a couple of tenths every lap? And we're seeing Jason S. Taylor do it on 2 right side tires.
Yeah, so a little bit of a shock there that he went in to try that strategy with the 2 tires, but you know, if you're going to learn something in this race, you want to learn it early on and not late. So I think you know, a good move by Taylor to learn how these tires are going to handle, and I think he's liking the outcome, but maybe wish he had all 4 tires that were all stickers.
Yeah, I guess when you're going to make the stop on pit road, you might as well take the 4, I guess, is the theory. But he does have a set of lefts available now. At least I would assume he has a set of lefts available. When it really comes down to it here is Jason S. Taylor is making that move work to stop and take 2 tires. What's kind of interesting, though, is it didn't happen right away. It's happening a handful of laps into the run where everybody else is seeing the fall off. The drop off isn't quite as big for Taylor.
Yeah, not big or happening as fast as the other drivers. I mean, it is happening for him most definitely, but with those tires being a little bit fresher than everybody else's, it's helping him here as this race progresses on this stint or set of tires. He's now looking inside the number 5 of Alex Princeton to take over the number 8th position.
Taylor still working inside of Princeton off of turn number 2 and down the back straightaway. Boisvert, hearing him jumping on the instant chat here, saying his car is developing a little bit of a push. I really think that's the biggest thing that we see going on here, and where Taylor is really benefiting from that strategy call. Everybody else is getting the push. I mean, Taylor's lap times are, he's about 1.5 to 2 tenths quicker than the cars that he's running right in the immediate vicinity around here. It's a matter of time. Can he get to the front? I don't know that he has that much speed in the car, but it was a great strategy call to take the 2 tires there.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing he does need to be careful here about is he's been struggling to get around Princeton last few laps. He needs to be very careful trying to get around Princeton because you don't want to abuse those tires and make them wear even faster, because that will happen as the more he continues to struggle to get around the number 5 of Alex Princeton. He actually just hits the apron a little bit there, and that's going to push him up the racetrack. So still not able to get around Princeton. He needs to settle down here and let his tires possibly cool down just a little bit, and then try to work on Princeton once again to take and complete that pass for the 8th position.
Yeah, it's almost like you'll hear drivers talk about the fact that you need to really sort of baby the tires just a little bit, because once you knock the good out of them, it's gone. And the tire, you're going to be right back in the same boat as everybody else. We're now 20 laps into the run, almost 25 laps into the run here for Taylor. Yes, everybody else is on 35 lap tires, but the difference really starts to shrink as that run continues.
He gets into the wall.
Yeah, Taylor got it up into the outside retaining wall.
He's gonna bring his Chevy Camaro down pit road. Big mistake there by Jason S. Taylor. Once again, like I said, he needed to, be careful trying to get around Princeton, and that's a result of what. And actually, he just overshoots his pit box as well there. So,
yeah, that's mistakes compounding on mistakes is never a good thing. And it's really a tough break because in all reality, we're at lap 119. He's right there in the window of being able to make that pit stop that would get you to the end of the stage. If you're going to cut the stage in half, now's about when you're going to do it. In fact, hearing some cars saying they are coming to pit road this time by.
So maybe it wasn't a bad thing there for Taylor, but getting into the wall definitely slows him down, especially after the way he had to fight his car to save it. But yes, we do have cars on pit road. It's going to be the number 9 of Joshua Campbell and the number 65 of Sean O'Brien.
Yep, 78 of David Duke. Also hearing the 12 of Cam Caldwell is going to be coming down pit road this time as well. Looks like it's going to be also the 55 of Dakota. Knoll will make his pit stop this time as well. Knoll a little bit further back in the field, but 4 tires, 2 cans Sunoco fuel for everybody that's come on to pit road here so far. Also the 09 of Philip Loy on pit road. Keep an eye on the 12. Oh, he overshoots the pit box. Got to back it up. Gets the car stopped. Cruise around to the right-hand side. You see the jack onto the right-hand side. That car is up in the air. Crew's going to come around and put the left side tires on. So it'll be 4 Goodyear Racing Eagles. 2 cans of Sunoco fuel. He's down and away. Cameron Caldwell, 16:25. That is about a second and a half loss to everybody else in the field at this point.
Yeah, not the stop he wanted to see, but he would end Jason Chambers overshoots his stall as well. Lots of mistakes happening already early on, but I will say Caldwell, he was able to, as behind we see the number 8, Cody Luke overshoot his stall. But as I was saying about Caldwell, he fixed the issue very quickly. It's still a loss of time, but he realized the issue, popped it in reverse, and backed it up very quickly.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is once you make the mistake, don't compound it again. It's a get it in, get it done. I mean, that 8 machine is missing the whole rear clip of that car, it seems like, almost. And it's you're trying to do as much as you can here with the race cars. The 7 of Brandon Figliola is on pit road. Also, the 5 of Alex Princeton as well. So pit stops coming here between lap 119, lap 121.
Figliola overshoots his box.
Man, everybody's having the issues. It's almost like you get the brake bias set for where you might need it on the racetrack, and you got to make that big adjustment now as race leader Jake Hickson is on the pit road as well.
Let's see what Hickson does. Hickson easy in. Almost looked like he was stopping a lot shorter than everybody else had. So taking it easy going into the box. 4 tires and fuel for him.
And this could be the story of things here. Hickson's out of the pits in 14.28 seconds. I think he gave up a little bit of time on his entry here because his pit lane time is 45.98 seconds as opposed to 44.15 for Robert Anderson. Several of these cars that came in are in the 45-second range, whereas Figliola, 47.43, 47.43 for Jason S. Taylor. Those little mistakes, slow in, slow out, missing your pit box, that could change who picks up the stage point here at the end because everybody is going to be spread out at this point.
And Cameron Caldwell, he was able to get the undercut on Hickson. So right now, Brian Mabry leads, but I believe that Caldwell will be your race leader once things cycle through.
Yeah, it looks like that's how everything's going to shake out here. The big mover in that was Joshua Campbell. His pit lane time, 45.63, the shortest of everybody that's came in this far, except for Robert Anderson. 15.25 was the time on the stop, so he was almost a half second quicker than Caldwell getting in, and he was a full 2 seconds quicker in the pit stop. But now Hickson comes around Campbell, so they'll continue to battle there. Got about a 4-car kind of pack that's starting to develop here. Jake Hickson at the front of it, Robert Anderson, Joshua Campbell, and Sean O'Brien all fighting in that same kind of generic area here. Keeping our eye on Brian Mabry, the race leader. We just saw him on the screen there. He has not stopped yet. Also, Jonathan Medeiros and Kevin Franks. Mabry calling that he'll be coming to pit road this time. So same for the 98 of Kevin Franks. So looks like we will complete the cycle of green flag pit stops here in just a moment.
I believe Dylan Schmidt has yet to pit as well for 96. Here comes Brian Mabry. Let's see how he does his stop. Nice entry for him. But that will turn things over. Actually, Medeiros still out on track, so Jonathan Medeiros is the current leader.
Yeah, Medeiros and Schmidt still out on the racetrack here, and it's a good way to get the sponsor logos on the broadcast, that's for sure. Stay out when everybody else hasn't. But at this point, he is giving up so much time to these cars that are just coming off the pit road. Cameron Caldwell's last lap time was a 30.33 second lap or so. And Jonathan Medeiros is well over 31 seconds. So he's losing half a second a lap to Caldwell. And Caldwell's only about 14 seconds back here. So you better get to pit road sooner. You're going to risk going a lap down if you're Medeiros and Schmidt.
And you know, the reason why they are staying out is because they're hoping for a caution. They're hoping to be able to trap as many people lap down as possible. At this point, drivers that are on fresher tires are just unlapping themselves. We have a little bit of contact right in front of the leader, but the 09 and the 55, that is going to be Philip Loy.
Yeah, that's Philip Loy and Dakota Knoll.
Yeah, they were able to keep things straight, but that was right in front of your leader of Jonathan Medeiros, and I don't think Dakota Knoll really appreciated that. He got right on the bumper of Philip Loy, but as I was saying, Medeiros and Schmidt, right now, they are just wanting a caution come out. And that's the only way that this strategy is going to work out for them.
Yeah, and even with that, I mean, it looks like the only cars that are going to be scored a lap down to the race leaders at this point, uh, it's all only back to 15th place William Boisvert. Everybody else from 14th on forward is on the lead lap. So,
and here comes Boisvert and Boyles to unlap themselves. They're 3 wide.
Yeah. It's an interesting strategy call, I'll say it that way, because we're actually at the halfway point, not only of the race, but just past the halfway point of the stage as well. What Medeiros could be setting up here is potentially trying to shorten a pit stop off the entire length of the race. We talked about the fact that you could go up to 65 laps on a tank of fuel. You didn't have to run in that window. So if he's able to stretch this out as far as possible at the end of the stage, he could retain the race lead by not stopping.
Yeah. And looks like Caldwell possibly has taken over the second spot from Schmidt, or he is very close to doing so. Caldwell, he is on a mission. Oh, and actually Hickson has gotten by Caldwell.
Yeah, Hickson's gotten by Caldwell. So Hickson's still going to be your race leader once Medeiros cycles through his pit stop anyway. And the other potential here is if you get another 20 laps or so in, every one of these leaders is coming to pit road again. So it's a really, really bold strategy call. I mean, I love the play. If you want to give yourself a shot, you have to put yourself to the front. At some point, you have to get there. Jonathan Medeiros has done it. Dylan Schmidt has done it. Schmidt now running in the 5th position. It's those oddball little things that you'll see happen that sometimes these drivers are able to secure themselves a finish by making a gutsy call in the middle of stage 2.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, Medeiros, he's just wanting to stay out on track as long as his fuel tank will allow him to. Less of a caution comes out. This is a very risky call or gamble to stay out, but you know, we are in Las Vegas. Lots of gambling going on here, and you know, it may be the virtual Las Vegas, but you're seeing it. Medeiros, he is just hoping this call works out for him.
Yeah, like I said, I love the call. It's gutsy. He's at least giving himself a shot at the front of the field, doing a nice job taking care of the sponsors and getting the logos on the broadcast for a good chunk of the race here. And it's everybody stopped on lap 124. We're only 20 or so laps from the end of the stage. We're working lap number 140 right now. Can Medeiros make the end of the stage? No, but if he gets the yellow, everybody's coming down pit road at this point. You're putting tires on if you've got 20 plus laps on that set of Goodyears.
Yeah, most definitely. You know, everybody wants to come down and pit at this point if a caution were to come out. So Medeiros, he is just praying and hoping that a caution will come out, and it'll be huge for Medeiros if he's able to get that caution. It needs to come quick because Hickson, he is now 9 seconds behind Medeiros, and still running much faster lap times than Medeiros.
Yeah, the lap times are nowhere close to what's being run. I mean, In all reality, he's about a half second slow. And in fact, the last time by what our timing and scoring screen shows us is Sector 1 and Sector 2. So each half of the racetrack. Medeiros ran a 15:72 in turns the 1 and 2 half of the racetrack, and Hickson ran the same time. So we've now found the fall off point. You get to 20 plus laps. Medeiros has a handful in his race car, but it sort of seems like Hickson is getting to that point as well. This could turn out to be the absolute call of the race for Jonathan Medeiros if he gets the caution. That's the big if.
Yeah, there is no guarantee that a caution will come out until the stage caution, and that's still quite a ways away. More laps than Medeiros' fuel tank can take at this point.
And hearing somebody's coming to pit road this time, I would imagine that's probably going to be race leader Jonathan Medeiros.
There's a car around on the back
one car
stretch.
going around on the back straightaway. We'll see if that's going to bring out the caution flag here.
It was the 78.
Medeiros stays out.
78 of David Duke. But Medeiros, like you said, it's still out on the racetrack. So maybe he heard that the car was around. Just kind of staying out there. Now he's coming down. And David Duke is driving backwards.
You know what? I did that in a PM18 race. Spun coming onto pit road, came in backwards, did the exact same thing David Duke is doing here. It actually throws you basically an error saying bad angle. So the pit stop that Brad Keselowski made in the real world a couple of years ago, spinning into his pit box, isn't possible to do in iRacing any longer. Duke gets it flipped around, and he'll take his spot here. Medeiros on his way out of pit road, 15.33 seconds is the stop time for Medeiros, and pretty quick on the pit lane time as well. Rapidly approaching the end. Well, now the 78's... Oh, there. Oh, okay, we're pulling the replay up here. I was like, wow, that's impressive.
All right, so yeah, here's what happened.
Yeah, smacks it off the outside wall.
Just got loose.
Big old tank slapper there on the 78.
So he was driving backwards to pit road all the way from the back stretch. That's impressive.
Impressive. I wonder how race control is going to feel about that, but it didn't necessarily cause anybody a problem here, other than the race leader coming onto pit road at the same time. In fact, a team car based on the paint jobs. So not really what you wanted to see if you were Jonathan Medeiros, who now is off of pit road and back running in the 19th position.
So Jake Hickson, he is the race leader. Robert Anderson, not too far behind, though.
Yeah, that's one of those where green flag pit stops are always going to cycle the field out just a little bit. It's just the nature of the time to get on pit road and off of pit road and all that kind of stuff. You're going to find the field spread out just a little bit. Hickson pretty well in control here, coming up on some lap traffic, but Going to be now, should be 7 to go here in stage number 2. And we still are only just past the halfway point of this race.
Yeah, lots of racing to go. As you see, 115 laps left in this race. So, still quite a ways for these drivers before the end of the race. And a whole stage as well. Robert Anderson, he's trying to work his Toyota up there, possibly get that playoff point and those 10 stage points as well.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal in this one. Is as the season goes on, those points become more and more important. And in a race like tonight, when you have as many contenders that have had problems as we've seen already, it makes getting those points all the more important because they're freebies at this point.
Yeah, you just want to collect as many as you can, so that, you know, later on in the season, when we get to the playoffs, it can help you a lot advance throughout the playoffs.
Joshua Campbell saying somebody scared him just a little bit. Campbell currently running in the 6th position. And how about this? I mean, when we look at the timing and scoring tower here, Jake Hickson is up 10 spots from the drop of the green flag, your race leader. Robert Anderson, the pole sitter, running in 2nd place. Cam Caldwell, plus 14. Alex Princeton, plus 22. Jason Chambers, plus 22. Josh Campbell, plus 19. Sean O'Brien up 5. Jason S. Taylor up 11. These are huge gainers. And there's still a ton of racing left to go. Some of these drivers have not really had a chance to show just how good their car may be.
Yeah, definitely not. And I'm very curious to see if somebody like Caldwell, we've seen him very strong early in a run or on a restart. You know, if he's able to figure out the long run of his car, maybe he's been keeping something secret, not trying to show off all of his tricks, but I don't know, long way to go still in this race. And I believe pit road should be closed, so we're coming up to 1 to go on the stage at the line.
Yeah, we're looking, right in that window of where pit road should be closed here. Have not heard that call from race control just yet, but yeah, let's keep an eye here about how good the battle may be for the last playoff point. Dane Cruz pretty rapidly catching in on Joshua Gaiman. And Gaiman catching on Justin Boyles as well. So far, this is the only battle within about half a second inside the top 10. That's going to be the end of stage number 2. And Jake Hickson picking up the stage point, 10 stage points, and the 1 playoff point. And pit road is about to become a very, very busy place once again here Figure we're going to see pit stops here right about lap number 163. So it puts you back into the window of 203 to 228.
Yeah, and drivers are on their way down to pit road now. Yeah, I was just curious. I was looking at where Medeiros was at, and he was the first car one lap down, so he's going to be the lucky dog possibly there if scoring is correct. And so that did not help him staying out as long as he did, because
yeah, that was he was gambling on the caution flag flying. And when you're in green flag stops, it is always a potential because there's not the seat of the pants feel that you get in a real world race car. It is so easy to loop one of these cars around as race leaders already making their way off of pit road. And change for the race lead, Robert Anderson, quickest off the pit lane, 14:67 for Goodyear Racing Eagles. Toucan Sunoco fuel, 15:35 for Jake Hickson. So that's either a chassis adjustment or some damage repair there on the 32. Cam Caldwell at a 14:53, 15:50 for Alex Princeton. And Jason Chambers rounds out the top 5, 15 flat to stop for the number 11 machine. The big beneficiary there was Jason S. Taylor. He's going to come out in the 7th position. A 2-tire call at lap 91 paid huge dividends there for the 37.
yeah, that was a great call for him to take those 2 tires, and he really started the pit cycle as well. Not sure he wanted to be the one to start the pit cycle, but of course hitting the wall, getting a little loose and trying to save his car from hitting the wall harder than what he did. He really had to chase it down to the apron.
Yep, and Medeiros, going back to the discussion on the 85 car there, he, by being the lucky dog, he's going to get to restart at the tail end of the lead lap. Now, he is going to have to start behind basically everybody that's left on the racetrack. But when we look at who's out of the race and how many cars are still running here, he's really not going to lose that much ground compared to everybody else here. What do you think? Should we do a full field rundown here and kind of give everybody an update of who's where?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So right now in first place, you have the number 18 of Robert Anderson, followed by Jake Hickson in second. Third place, number 12 of Cameron Caldwell. Fourth, my guy Alex Princeton, the number 5. Fifth place, Jason Chambers. Sixth place, Joshua Campbell. Seventh, Jason S. Taylor. Eighth, Dane Cruz. Ninth, Randy Drumhiller. In 10th place, going to be the 61 of Joshua Gaiman.
Also on the lead lap in 11th position, the 47 of William Boisvert. Philip Loy's number 09 runs 12th. 13th, the 3 of Brian Mabry. I have no idea how that car is still on the lead lap, but he's still towards the front of the field here, and he's got a shot. Justin Boyles in the 81 lead lap car, as is Sean O'Brien, Dakota Knoll, and Jonathan Medeiros. Nolan Hodgson in the 95, and Dylan Schmidt back to 19th place. All those cars on the lead lap. First car 1 lap down. Now the 98 of Kevin Franks running in 20th.
Also 1 lap down, the number 8 of Cody Luke. Dylan Kritz, 22nd, 1 lap down. Brandon Figliola showing 3 laps down in 23rd. David Duke, 21 laps down, 24th. 25th, Ty Eppolito, 71 laps down. Dave Hughes Jr., 75 laps down, 26th. Andrew T. Jones, 27th. 80 laps down, Kyle Amon. 104 laps down, 28th. Terry Cooper, 29th, I apologize. And 30th, Thomas Rutherford, 30th place, 121 laps down.
Yeah, 31st, Alan Rowell. Mike Hellier, 32nd. 33rd, Zach Probst, 34th. Brandon Proudfoot as we should be getting ready to come back to green here. A lot of these cars towards the back of the field are out of the race, including David Duke, Dave Fuse Jr., also Andrew Jones, Kyle Lamon, and just about everybody else back. Green flag goes back in the air. Third and final stage is underway. 102 laps to go here at Las Vegas.
Great restart by Robert Anderson. That's going to allow bottom line with Cameron Caldwell restarting third to be able to clear Jake Hickson. Now Caldwell, he's going to have his sights set on Robert Anderson to take over that lead. He looks to the inside through 3 and 4.
Starting to make their way down the D-shaped front straightaway. Cam Caldwell still looking inside, but now he's going to have to fight Jake Hickson to his outside as they make their way into one.
Still side by side there. Hickson running probably a lot higher than I would expect him to. That's going to allow Caldwell to be able to clear him and have his sights set on Robert Anderson. Once again, he's down to the inside for that race lead. Caldwell, new
huge
leader,
drive off at 2.
and he's finally going to
Yeah,
own
that
the
pass
lead.
started. Yep, off at turn 2, that pass started. It was a huge run down the back straightaway. Cam Caldwell finished the pass in 3 and 4. Now Jake Hickson going to look to the inside of Anderson. That low lane is really coming in, and something to note here is the lights came on, so we're not going to have to worry about racing in the dark. What will change significantly is the track temperature as that sun continues to set.
And Caldwell, he had gotten super loose on the bottom. That allowed race leader now Jake Hickson to take over the lead, but Caldwell has not backed down. He's now looking back to the inside of Hickson. Not quite able to get there just yet, but Caldwell not giving up.
Making their way into turns 3 and 4 on lap 169 is what they're working at right now. Jake Hickson still holding on to the race lead. You can see the cars moving up. As the temperatures drop, the lane is going to change pretty significantly as well. Race leaders nose to tail off at turn number 2, side by side for 5th.
Looking back there in 5th place, we've got Jason Chambers. There we go, Jason Chambers in the 11 and the number 9 of Joshua Campbell side by side. Here comes Jason S. Taylor in the number 37. He's looking real strong here late in this race is Jason S. Taylor.
Yeah, that 37 car is really starting to come to Taylor. As the sun's gone down, that car has gotten better, and that's something that these teams will practice throughout the week, is running in different temperature conditions. Some will even do full-length race sims. This is a pretty big get here to have the car set up just right for late in the race. You can be good early on. It's who's going to be fastest when we get down to 20 to go.
Caldwell, he is not going away from Hickson. Actually, I saw him put the nose underneath Hickson a couple of laps ago. Still not able to complete the pass, but he is still right there on the bumper of Hickson. He's now going to look inside.
Caldwell to the inside off at turn number 2 as they head down the Nellis back straightaway. Big drive off the corner for Hickson. He kept the momentum wound up in that 32 machine towards the front of the field. The 12 of Caldwell isn't going anywhere quickly as the 18 of Anderson just about clipped the apron, shot way up the racetrack.
Yeah, it was a big momentum loss for Anderson, but he didn't lose any positions because of it. He's going to have Alex Princeton all over his bumper if he has another mistake like that happen.
Yeah, that's something to kind of keep an eye on here, is who may have damage from the variety of incidents that we've had on the racetrack here so far. Looks like everybody in the top 4 is pretty well clean. Keeping the car that way is going to be really important here, as Caldwell right back on the back bumper of Hickson for the lead off at 2.
Jason Chambers looked like he wanted to make a move on Brinson, but wasn't close enough to be able to do so. And we're still watching this 12 and the 32 car. It's almost like Caldwell is, just a thorn in the side of Hickson. He just will not go away. Caldwell has been just super strong. And, I'm actually watching this here. Caldwell has not fallen off from the race leader as quickly as he has early in the run, like he has every restart that we've had. But Caldwell, he's been able to stick right here with Hickson very closely this entire time. So could be his car is finally set up good enough to be able to run. Also could be that, once again, with the sun set and track getting cooler, it's really helping his car a lot. I've noticed that he's been fighting with the loose race car as well, so possibly settling down a bit or some adjustments to tighten it up has really helped. But you got 90 laps to go. You definitely don't want to burn your tires up now. We will see another pit stop, but still don't want to burn those tires up.
No, that's exactly it. I mean, if you can do something like what Medeiros was able to do and go 60-plus laps, you're in the window of making it to the end of the race on one more stop from here. With fewer cars on the racetrack and fewer damaged race cars, you're likely to see this third stage go green for a significant portion of it. We could be down where we're starting to talk about potentially final pit stops.
Yeah, I expect these drivers now to go as long as their fuel tank will last. We already saw Medeiros try that strategy, and you and I were talking, Chris, and I told you I fully expect, in stage 1 and 2 drivers to cut it in half. We never really did talk about what we expected for stage 3, but I do expect drivers to go as long as they possibly can. So that they don't have to make, they can make one less pit stop than what they would have to if they short pitted.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the numbers here, I would say in order to be safe, counting the green-white checkers, you're looking at probably about needing to get to lap 280. It's only 267 laps, but you got to figure in the green-white checker finishes. That puts you to lap 215. That is right in the middle of where the pit window that's now open sits. So if you get to lap 215, you're pretty close to guaranteed to make it to the end. And it makes it a nice kind of cutoff point where you'll be able to see what your tires can do, and you're not pushing the car too hard on fuel.
Yeah, I think, the best one in the position to know how the tires will handle is Medeiros, because he did.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is the only car on the racetrack who knows what that tire fall off is going to be like in current conditions is Jonathan Medeiros in the 85. Now, with that being said, the vast majority, all but 3 of the drivers in this race are an A license on iRacing, and the iRating, I would imagine, is pretty crazy on this one too. I mean, you're talking just about everybody is over 3,000 in iRating. They know how these cars are going to handle at least have a ballpark anyway of how the car's going to handle on the lighter fuel load with the worn tires. It really now is just a matter of when do you make the strategy call.
Yeah, strength of field is 2,611, and for those that don't really know what that is, that's the average of everybody's iRating. There's a lot of drivers in here that are very fast, very smart, and potentially could be a pro driver if they went for it. But we see side by side there, with Anderson and Caldwell now for the second spot. Anderson looking inside of Caldwell. And the other
Dylan Crit's right there in the 36 as well.
And he is 3 laps down, so he is not a part of this battle for position. But he definitely can help shake things up.
Yeah, Crit stopped on lap 179, so he is on significantly fresher tires than what these drivers at the front are on, and trying to organically unlap himself here. Is the battle of the top 3 is still pretty close. It's only about 0.6 of a second from first to third.
Yeah, and we have seen, again, the leader of the race really start to be able to pull away after a couple laps. That's not the case this time around for Hickson, as now he has Anderson right on his bumper, and now Crit's is running the same line as Hickson. So that's only going to help Anderson. He's going to look to the inside, does Anderson on Hickson. Side by side at the line. Hickson still with the lead, but I think the advantage is going to be Anderson off turn 2.
It could very well be. Hickson got right up under the back bumper of Crit down the straightaway and off of turn 4, and it took all the air off the front of that car, a huge aero push off the corner. And that's now it's opened the door for Robert Anderson.
Wow, that time by was like a dead heat at the line. But Anderson had the advantage. Still side by side. And that's just going to help Caldwell behind them. If they continue to be side by side.
Seeing here that race control has given Philip Loy a black flag, it sounds like it amounts to, I don't want to say reckless driving, but sounds like the call was being a little bit squirrelish. So Loy is going to have to come to pit road, and he's currently running in the 5th position.
It's not what he wants to see at all there.
Yeah, and basically he's going to have to answer the black flag as he's going to come down pit road this time. So he'll come down and answer the penalty flag. Black flag shown at the starter's stand, and Jake Hickson and Robert Anderson are still bumper to bumper, and Anderson's going to look to the inside for the race lead down the front straightaway.
He might be able to pull ahead if Hickson doesn't get a good run off the exit. And now we have a lap car of Nolan Hodgson, that number 95, right there with him. Anderson does have the advantage, being clear of Hickson now.
Again, it's kind of the same deal here. Hodgson's a couple of laps down, but he stopped on lap 183. So 21 lap fresher tires on that car, and you can see the difference it makes. This really is going to be potentially a scenario where the undercut is going to potentially really benefit someone.
Alex Princeton, he is sitting quietly in 4th place. Not somebody we really talked much about this entire race, and he is looking to get around Cameron Caldwell. Great race by Princeton, and
yeah, it's been a very stout race for that number 5. Very nice paint scheme on that car as well. He's going to look inside of Caldwell through turns 3 and 4. not quite there yet to attempt to pass Caldwell all the way down to the apron to block the line off, and Jason S. Taylor's going to join the party.
Yes, once again, we have Jason S. Taylor and Alex Princeton battling it out. This time around, Taylor goes to the high side. Princeton still on the bottom. And remember earlier when Taylor got into the wall and had to fight the race car to keep it straight, it was because he was battling with Princeton.
Yeah, that's it is a resumption of hostilities between those cars, as Taylor's going to run as high as anybody has run all night here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. I don't know that we're going to see anybody really start to get out towards the outside retaining wall and that safer barrier, but yeah, this is one of those battles that we've seen be ongoing. Taylor able to complete the pass and open up about a 4-car length advantage.
Looking up front, Anderson, he may have the lead, but he's not been able to pull away from Hickson, so he was showing strong to be able to take the lead away from Hickson, but now that clean air, it's not helping him. But that clean air really isn't clean air at all in front of him, as he still has the 95 of Hodson and 36 of Fritz in front of him.
That's probably the biggest thing here now, is lap traffic is not exactly lap traffic when they're on much fresher tires than you are. Down to 70 laps remaining here in the Las Vegas 400, and still a ton of time left to go here. At least one cycle of pit stops still coming. This could be as much about just kind of trying to save your tires and make sure the car is in great shape for that last run to the checker.
Robert Anderson, he's just really wanting to pull away from Hickson. And starting to gap him a little bit. But those lap cars in front are side by side now. Let's go take a look at that. Hodson, Kritz.
That's exactly what you want to see if you're the race leader. A couple of cars that are laps down, battling really, really hard. Although Kritz now saying he may call discretion the better part of valor here and get out of the way of the race leaders a little bit, but that will absolutely change the dynamic of things, because Anderson will then have the clean air. And I mean, you can see it, the gap is 0.4 of a second. It's probably 6 car lengths at this point now, as Fritz starting to get out of the way in turns 1 and 2. Should complete the pass here down the backstretch, but the top 2 have absolutely checked out. Third place, Jason S. Taylor.
Jason S. Taylor still looking strong tonight. Well, he's been looking strong all season long, but tonight he started 19th place and he's just slowly been working his way up to the front. And 66 laps to go. He's starting to make some noise.
Yeah, Taylor entered the night 24th in points. This is going to go a long way towards helping that number and getting him up towards the 16 driver playoff grid. And I don't think it can be understated what the Season 2 update that's coming on Tuesday could potentially mean. You're talking everything from car changes, potential environment changes, how things interact, even potential tire model changes are coming here. This is going to have a very, very big effect on these races going forward, and being in playoff contention after this race could not be more important.
Yeah, you know, when iRacing gets these updates, it changes the cars completely. Like you were talking about, tire updates and just all kinds of updates for the cars. So drivers, you would think that after tonight's race, they could just start practicing for next week, which is Phoenix. Uh, they could potentially, I mean, get right off the sim from Las Vegas tonight after this race and get right on to working on their Phoenix set. But after Tuesday on that update, there's going to be so many changes that everything they've learned is possibly going to be out the window. So, when you have these updates with iRacing, it really shortens your practice time for the type of, I guess, the most accurate practice you possibly can get. Because, like I said, they could practice as soon as this race gets over, but it may not be as accurate after the update on Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, that's even things like one of the big issues is in the dynamic track. And basically what that means is that in iRacing, the track surface reacts in a very similar fashion to how racetracks react in the real world. The surface dynamics are going to be updated so tires of different compounds, such that softer tires are going to produce a thicker layer of rubber than harder tires. And it is a big change in the dynamic track. I mean, that is going to be absolutely huge. And we can't forget the biggest change that's coming this season too, and we'll get to see it here in just a couple of weeks. Dirt racing at the Bristol Motor Speedway. That one's going to be a ton of fun, as we're starting to hear some drivers talking about heading to pit road.
So, Chris, we saw so many mistakes out of a lot of these leaders come into pit road that last time through with those green flag pit stops. Do you think they've learned from that? Do you think they're going to try something different, or are we still going to see a lot of drivers make mistakes and overshoot their pit box?
Well, the first car to hit his box is going to be the 96 of Dylan Schmidt, and he greased the landing on entry there. That car looked pretty clean. Same can't be said for the 8 of Cody Luke. The 61 of Joshua Gaiman also on pit road now. He's going to make his entry. Should be the final stop of the race, barring a caution flag. And every one of these drivers now has the advantage of the undercut. Gaiman does the same thing. He overshoots his box. You'd think they would learn, but when you're trying to push, I mean, every 10th of a second matters here. That's going to be absolutely huge. As looks like we've got a battle once again for the race lead here as Hickson looks outside of Robert Anderson down the back straightaway.
And Hickson is going to take over that race lead from Anderson. So, it was huge for him to stay right there as close to Anderson as he possibly could. I'm wondering if, maybe he was just saving his tires, not really letting Anderson get out there too far. But just saying, go ahead and pass me, burn up your tires. I'll be right here to pass you pretty soon.
Yeah, we actually saw this in the road course race, and it is just as applicable here on the oval. The in-lap and the out-lap is so critically important in green flag pit stops. Not just getting into the box, but how do you enter the pits? That all starts down the back straightaway. Getting your car set up to make the entry onto pit road. Getting the brake bias adjusted if you need to. We are most certainly in the window here. You'll get to the end, but you better hope there's not a green-white checkered, as we see the 81 of Justin Boyles on pit road. He hits his marks cleanly. Should be 4 tires and fuel for everybody here. I don't see the 2 tires stop playing any real benefit here. Jonathan Medeiros in the 85 also on pit road. Race leaders still not ready to commit yet. I wouldn't expect to see them for another 5 to 8 laps potentially. You want to make sure that you're going to be good for the green-white checkered in case we go green to the finish and you have that late caution. And because at that point, the question becomes, do you make a 2-tire stop? Whatever the leader does, everybody else is going to do the opposite, so they're kind of hosed either way. But Yeah, there's the potential exists here to see some big changes as the 12 of Cam Caldwell also on pit road.
I think that the 12 might have had a crash because I saw him slow on the backstretch. I clicked over to his car number, and he was in pit road.
He's gone. Yeah. Wow, tough break for Cameron Caldwell. He had a huge hit into the outside retaining wall. Not sure where the issue was on the Caldwell machine, but
Not so sure I'm going to be able to get the replay up.
yeah, you know what? He just got way loose and absolutely pounded the outside retaining wall. So tough break for Cam Caldwell. He's going to fall way back in the field here. Shouldn't fall any farther than 24th, 23rd position, I guess. But now Sean O'Brien in the 65 on pit road. That car down and away. Dane Cruz in the 40 on the pit lane as well. All of these cars now going a lap down to the race leaders. There, as you see, the 40 of Cruz hitting his marks cleanly. Right side goes up. Same thing. You're going to absolutely go with the 4 tire changes here. And now Jake Hickson has done exactly what you called there, Josh. He saved his tires a ton. The lead is 1.7 seconds as Alex Princeton heads down pit road.
Good clean in for Princeton there. Taking the right side tires. Off to the left sides for his Ford. And he is off and away. Good stop by Alex
The other
Princeton.
big one here is it can't be understated, I guess. I got to learn a different word, but don't speed on pit entry. Don't speed on pit exit. These cars are not open wheel formula cars that have a pit limiter button that you just hold the button down and you're not going any faster than what pit road speed is. You've really got to watch. Getting off the apron is incredibly slick on new tires. It's easy to lose handle of the car. That's what we talk about in the outlap, is how quickly are you able to get back up to speed and where do you cycle in?
Oh yeah, and if you speed on pit road under a green flag, it really, really bites you hard.
Yeah, that's game over. Quite literally game over at that point. As we see the 7 of Brandon Figliola on pit road. Also, Dakota Knoll in the 55 is on pit road as well. Still haven't seen any big movement here out of the top 5, and they have not changed. It's still Hickson, Anderson, Taylor, Chambers, and Campbell. Oisvert up 26 spots to 6. How about Jason Chambers? He's up 23 spots to 4th, and he's not the hard charger of the race. We'll see the 11 heading to pit road this time. Should also see the 3 of Brian Mabry and the 98 of Kevin Franks coming to pit road. So the first of the big leaders here coming down pit road in the 11 of Jason Chambers and the 9 of Joshua Campbell. This is now where you're really in the danger zone if you're Hickson, Anderson, Taylor, and Boisvert. A yellow flag now is going to put you in behind all of those cars that stop.
Yeah, at this point, you do not want to see a yellow. If you're some of these guys here.
I think we're going to see Jake Hickson, our race leader, heading to pit road this time. That'll leave Robert Anderson all alone at the front of the field if he doesn't come with him. Wow, really aggressive pit entry for the 32, but he gets down to pit road speed, or at least he should be down to pit road speed. Didn't see a big brake check.
That was an incredible entry. See, he has both Anderson and Jason S. Taylor in behind him as well. No
Yep,
mistake by
only cars
Hickson.
that have not stopped now. The 81 of Justin Boyle stopped on lap 211. We'll see if the undercut works, but the gap is still over 40 seconds here for Boyles, so I don't think it's going to be good enough. Hickson down and away, 15.43 seconds. He will resume the race lead, but here comes the 81 of Justin Boyles. He's around the outside. We've got a new race leader, Justin Boyles.
I don't know how long Boyles will have it because of being 12 laps on his tires. But
that's the big question here, is how quickly can everybody else get caught up? I mean, Jake Hickson is only about 4 seconds back, but Boyles is on fresher tires. The gap continues to increase here. Was the undercut strategy call the right one for Justin Boyles? We'll find out here in about 44 laps or so.
it's a good call by Boyles to try that undercut. But if we don't get a caution here soon, I'm just not sure it will work out for him.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough row. We'll say it that way. I mean, Boyles knew the risk going into it here, but at this point, the worst he's looking at is a 14th place finish. I mean, and that's even with some cars having stopped around him. Joshua Gaiman stopped at lap 208. 216 for Princeton, 214 for Sean O'Brien. The gaps are only about 10 or 11 laps on the tires here. So I really think Justin Boyles, he may not get the win tonight, but he's absolutely going to be looking at a solid finish inside the top 10.
Jake Hickson, he is running really, really quick laps here. Fastest car that last time by, and he is just getting so much bigger in Boyle's mirror. Riding on board with Hickson, you can see Boyles is right there.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing here is as much as the gamble. I mean, Justin Boyles entered the night 34th place in points, 120 back of the points lead. But just as important, he's 91 points back of 16th in points. That top 10 tonight, if he's able to keep the car in that kind of ballpark, that is a huge gain in the points tonight for Justin Boyles.
Yeah, so as much as this tire strategy, or pit strategy rather, possibly won't help Boyles get the win, it definitely could help him get really solid points day.
It's funny to think that you're only 4 races in and you're already talking about points, but the reality is it's only a 26 race season. We're already approaching 1/5 of the season complete once we finish next week's race. So yeah, there is no time to let off. If you have a bad week like Boyles did last week, he lost 8 spots in the points. You're talking about having to make that gap up in as big a chunks as you possibly can. And maybe that strategy call tonight for Boyles is a pretty good one here, because he's losing a ton of ground to Hickson, and Anderson is pretty rapidly catching up. But you start to look back to like 7th place Sean O'Brien, 8th place Joshua Gaiman. That gap is not decreasing as rapidly.
Here we look here at Sean O'Brien on screen, and
yep, that's the 65 of Sean O'Brien Jr. and pretty rapidly catching up here to Noah Hodgson. Hodgson, again, a couple of laps down, but this is going to be really interesting to see how these last 35-ish laps develop.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it just, yeah, I'm always wondering, you know, when we see races like this, we're gonna get a late caution and some crazy happens, and I've seen I've called races specifically for Galaxy Truck Series that have completely turned things around as quickly as just so quickly, where some drivers that are dominant in the beginning aren't even anywhere close to having a chance to win in the end. We've seen Hickson and Anderson up front. We have a yellow.
Caution flag is out, and the big winner there, Justin Boyles, because everybody will be coming to pit road to take 4 tires. That is an absolute given here. Boyles is going to get to enter pit road out of the 3rd position. It's kind of unfortunate that we didn't really get to talk about this, but Jake Hickson had an absolutely epic in-lap and out-lap compared to Robert Anderson. He was slower on pit road by nearly a second, and he was a half second slower in the pit stop than Anderson was. So that 3-second lead that Jake Hickson developed was entirely in the in-lap and the out-lap. Really, really impressive there, and Hickson already making his way down pit road.
So we'll come back to what brought out the caution. There after the pit stops.
Yeah, everybody hitting their pit stalls. And Jonathan Medeiros, I think, yeah, he stayed out on the racetrack. So Medeiros is going to be the race leader. Not sure if that was a mistake on his part or what, but we'll kind of go back to everybody coming off of pit road here, and it's going to be a drag race to the line. We'll see who's going to win it. Looks like Jake Hickson will grab the spot off of pit road. 14.75 seconds on the stop for Hickson. 15:13 for Robert Anderson. 14:88 for Justin Boyles. He's going to hold on to the 4th position. Jason S. Taylor, 4th off of pit road, 5th in the timing and scoring. Jason Chambers going to be the 5th car off of pit road. Everybody 4 tires and fuel here with 32 laps to go.
So let's go back to that crash. Joshua Campbell and we're 40 of Dane Cruz. I think Campbell, once again, they were 3 wide with Joshua Gaiman, Joshua Campbell, and Dane Cruz. And I think, I'm not sure if Campbell just came down on Cruz. I mean, it got pretty tight there, and Campbell just kind of came around.
Yeah, that was 2 cars looking for the same piece of real estate, and that was it was a pretty big hit for the 9 of Campbell, that's for sure. Absolutely no lift out of the 40. So he was holding his ground, that's for sure. And that was a battle for lead lap position. I mean, Dane Cruz is currently running in the 10th position. Jonathan Medeiros, by the way, did come down pit road this last time by, so it's going to put Jake Hickson back to the front of the field. But, yeah, continuing to look at what put us under the caution flag here. I'll chalk that one up to hard racing late in the race, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if these drivers are going to want to see those two drivers named Joshua stop being side by side, because it's twice with 3 wide. There's been a caution, although Gaiman wasn't involved in that one. It's twice we've seen 3 wide with Joshua Gaiman, Joshua Campbell, and caution resulting out of it.
You know what? It's drivers have, what do they say? Drivers have the mind of an elephant. You don't forget things.
Yeah.
When you start to see those cars getting side by side in 3 wide, yeah, it'll make you hesitate as a driver to go, I've seen this game played before, and I don't like how it ends.
And as a driver named Josh in the Galaxy Cup Series myself, I'm kind of glad I'm not out there.
Yeah, you might end up as the one that was the pinball in the middle of all this. So. Should have the lights out on the iRacing Ford Mustang pace car, and we'll be going back to green flag racing here. 237 laps completed, working lap 238. Jace Hickson, Robert Anderson going to make up the front row. Justin Boyles and Jason S. Taylor in row 2. Jason Chambers, Alex Prince in row 3. Sean O'Brien Jr., Joshua Gaiman, row 4. William Boisvert and Dane Cruz will be row 5 and complete the top 10 as we come back to the restart. And how about Justin Boyles in the 81? He was front, he was back, he was now back to the front again, and up about 14 spots from the drop of the green flag.
Yeah, incredible job out of the 81 of Justin Boyles. Very curious to see what he will be able to do now that he has that position with the same amount of tires, same laps with the tires as everybody else. Pace car is pulling in, and Hickson, he's waiting. He's now going. Green flag back out. Jason S. Taylor on that outside. He wanted to go, and looked like Anderson didn't get going as quick as Jason S. Taylor wanted to go, but Hickson, he's going to be able to pull out to a couple car lengths lead.
This is a little bit more of what we expected to see the last couple of caution flags, and it's happening now. Jake Hickson able to open the gap up just a little bit as they head into turn number 3. The racing is pretty intense back behind them with Jason S. Taylor to the outside of Jason Chambers.
Oh, big crash.
Hickson still leads.
Gaiman, when it goes around, I saw that starting to develop. I think Gaiman just got loose, and that's what caused all that to unfold. Let's take a look there. They were 3 wide. Gaiman he just got loose and overcorrected it. Got into the number 44 of Drumhiller. That was a big hit for Gaiman.
And Joshua Gaiman's managed to hit his pit box, and what we say, caution breeds caution. Well, seems like we might be back to what we saw at the start of the race a little bit here, and quite frankly, you're down to 28 laps to go. If we continue to see this, that can only be good news for Jake Hicks and Robert Anderson at the front of the field here. What those guys don't want to see is that 10 to 15 lap run and then the caution flies with 10 to go.
Yeah, these guys, they just, for somebody like Hickson, who has been strong all race long, I wonder if he just wants this thing to stay green from this point on, because he's really been able to prove that he's got a better car once this thing starts going. If we get, a couple of overtime restarts, we may have a very surprise winner kind of shove their way through and upset Hickson, who's just been dominating this race.
Yeah, I mean, that's when you have those knowns around you. When you're Jake Hickson, you kind of get a feel for what Robert Anderson's going to do on a restart. You know a little bit what Justin Boyles and Jason S. Taylor are going to do. These guys have driven together for a very long time. It's when you start to get the oddballs that may come into play, whether that's a driver that you're less familiar with or a driver who elects to take 2 tires under caution, restarts 10th, and all of a sudden you look in your rearview mirror, you're like, where did he come from?
Yeah, we have Sean O'Brien up here. He's not really made a lot of noise up front, and he's actually looks like he's going to restart behind his teammate, number 37 of Jason S. Taylor. So, wonder if maybe those two can work together to try to.
And that's the other thing. The other one that we really can't discount is, when are we going to see teammates starting to work together here? Because at this point, the only potential pit call that remains to be made is, do you take two tires on a late race restart? Outside of that, it's basically game on here. I mean, Dane Cruz is going to come back out on the lead lap after being involved in that incident and spending 1 minute and 2 seconds on pit road. But outside of Cruz, everybody else is on that same lap of tires. So who's your friends, who's your buddies, and where are they?
And actually, I did forget to mention Jason Chambers right there in between Jason S. Taylor and Sean O'Brien. I believe he is a part of them guys as well. So you've got.
Yeah, well,
I was just gonna say, you've got all three of those drivers starting, or gonna restart here, 4th, 5th, and 6th. So if you're Hickson, Anderson, and Boyles, you need to be careful around these Black Flag Motorsports guys who might, or definitely will, try to make some noise to take this win away.
absolutely. I mean, if you can't get the win yourself, you want a teammate to get it. And do we see the big shove come on the restart here? I mean, the last restart, Robert Anderson did not get going, and Jason S. Taylor was trying to give him the big shove. Does Taylor just say, "Hey, forget it, man. Sean, let's go. I'll give you the call in the Discord here. We're going outside of these guys on the restart."
There's plenty of room here to make those moves, 3 wide moves. We've seen a couple of incidents that have resulted in 3 wide, but we've also seen where these guys have fanned out to 3 wide, very close to 4 wide, and haven't had incidents.
It's a pretty big gap that Sean O'Brien is leaving to the back bumper of Jason S. Taylor here as we get ready to go back to green. He's starting to close up now. They bring him down really slow. They're going to stack everybody up. Green flag goes back in the air. We're back underway. What a restart for Jake Hickson. He's checked out, and they're going to be 3 wide going into 1.
3 wide for 2nd place. Jason S. Taylor doesn't have the momentum to stay up there. But wow, they definitely tried.
Yeah, he had William Boisvert on the back bumper here, and it's going to be 2 by 2 by 2 off the corner. That's going to be the battles for 2nd, 4th, and 6th place, respectively. Jake Hickson absolutely loves to see that, but now the question is, can they keep these cars under control this way for the remaining 24 to go?
Oh, I'm not so sure that they can. Chambers, he's going to look underneath Sean O'Brien. That was almost looking like it was going to be 3 wide, but quickly turned into just 2 wide there.
You're going to start to see these drivers use more and more of the apron. They're going to be way up against the outside safer barrier down the front stretch. They are going to try to grab every piece of racing room they can. In fact, Jason S. Taylor just ran the highest mid-corner we've seen all night, build up a huge head of steam, and he's going to be all over the back bumper of Boyles into 3.
He's not running overly aggressive up high that time around, but he is still right there wanting to overtake not only that 3rd position, but also that 2nd position, as he's now going to look all the way down at the bottom. Maybe getting a little bit loose there through the center of the corner.
Here comes Boyles looking to the
No,
inside of
there's a
Anderson
wreck.
down the backstretch. Oh, and Anderson goes around. He's going to bounce it up off the outside retaining wall. How did they not wad up 15 cars there? Holy cow.
That is insane.
Hearing the 81 of Justin Boyles apologizing over the radio. Robert Anderson's going to go from a battle for second to now circulating in the 11th position. Here's something to keep in mind, though. There's not a ton of damage on that car. At least it doesn't look too bad. Robert Anderson's going to get to come down pit road here. Everybody has the tires available. It's just a matter of who's going to come and take them here with 20 to go.
I bet everybody pits here.
Well, here comes Jason S. Taylor. Wow, I am shocked that we don't have more cars coming to pit road. Jason S. Taylor, William Boisvert, Alex Princeton, Robert Anderson, Randy Drumhiller, Joshua Campbell, and Dylan Kritz is going to get another lucky dog, and he'll be back on the lead lap as well.
That is wow.
High drama developing here in the desert. The shootout at the OK Corral is coming. We're down to 20 laps to go. Looks like Boisvert's going to win the race off of pit road. 14:65 was a stop for him. 15:90 for Jason S. Taylor. 15:23 for Alex Princeton. Anderson, Campbell, and Drumhill are all now 30-plus seconds on pit road, so some damage fixes going on there. But how about it now if you're Jake Hickson, you now know 9th, 10th, and 11th all have about 15 lap fresher tires than you do.
Oh, man. At this point, you're just hoping that there aren't any more cautions if you're Hickson and that you are just able to go and not look back, because Boisvert, Princeton, Taylor, they're going to be coming strong.
Yeah, and William Boisvert is easily one of the most aggressive guys in the field here. He will not hesitate to put that 47 where he wants it to go, whether the people around him on the racetrack want him there or not. That's going to be a pretty big deal here. And as you see Boisvert, Taylor, and Princeton coming around to grab their spots back in line, with some of the lap cars being there as well. Dylan Kritz is going to make his pit stop, and he should come back out on the lead lap here as the lucky dog. Also, Brandon Figliola on pit road, Cody Luke as well. So it looks like your first car one lap down is now going to be the 95 of Nolan Hodgson. Talking about coming back to bite you there, the battle with Kritz, that Kritz and Hodgson let the leaders back around them, potentially now costing Hodgson a shot at moving up pretty significantly here late in the race.
Yeah, so it was one of those instances where, yeah, there was quite a bit of racing left, but looking at the bigger picture, it is definitely not something that they were possibly looking at when it, at that point in the race.
That's it. It's hindsight's 20/20. But that's why you see lap cars racing the leaders so hard, because you never know when you're going to be having another shot here. Robert Anderson just saying over the chat he only had about 25 seconds worth of damage repair, so not a lot of major work being done to that 18, and now he's also got the fresher tires and one of the fastest cars on the racetrack.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see what he's able to do with his 18 machine.
He sounds very calm over the radio, but let's just say that the red mist may change a little bit when he gets back closer to the front here. Lights are out on the pace car. We're 1 lap to green here and inside of 20 to go here at Las Vegas.
Well, do you think we're going to have another caution?
Well, caution breeds caution. I mean, that's what the old saying is. I really think it depends on how this restart stretches out here, because now you have Justin Boyles on the front row. It is a completely different makeup from what we've seen. If I'm Boyles, I'm on the hammer about as soon as that pace car takes off. You can't give Hickson a chance to get away here.
Here we come to the restart. Green flag is waving. Automatically, you see Jason S. Taylor and Robert Anderson jumping up to that high line. Here comes Taylor. He is already up to 5th place.
Huge drive for Jason S. Taylor through turns 1 and 2. He's going to try to make the big move down the back straightaway. Hickson not able to get away from everybody at the front of the field here. They're going to be almost 3 wide going into 3.
Brian Mabry sideways. He's able to keep it straight, staying green. So we go back to the leaders. Now they go around. Does the 18.
They're going to wreck right behind the race leaders here. I think we might stay green for this one. No caution flag yet. That's the 18 of Anderson that went around. What was a big pack of cars is now down to 6 that are going to have a shot at the win here unless we go caution with 15 to go. And it's Jason S. Taylor looking to the outside. Those 4 fresh Goodyear Racing Eagles are paying dividends now.
Jason S. Taylor, he is just on a mission. Now looking to the outside. Get around Justin Boyles.
Going into turn 1, little bit of a wiggle there out of Boyles. Taylor trying to get to the outside down the back straightaway. He's able to keep that high line and the momentum wound up. Cue the Jaws theme if you're Jake Hickson, because you know they're coming.
Still side by side for Boyles and Taylor. Taylor, he wants to get clear of Boyles very quickly here.
Taylor tries that really high line in 1 and 2. It builds up a ton of momentum. That car absolutely shot out of a cannon down the back straightaway. Still not quite enough to get him clear, but he's going to have some drafting help from Jason Chambers.
He will be clear now as Boyles tucks in behind the number 37 of Jason S. Taylor. Now Jason S. Taylor has his sights set on Hickson. 12 laps remaining in the race.
Talk about getting while the getting's good. Well, Jason S. Taylor just took a whole big fistful of that. Going to be 3 wide back behind him on entry to corner number 3. That's Boisvert looking way to the inside. But we'll keep our attention here at the front of the field. Does Jason S. Taylor have enough to get around Jake Hickson?
He's there. It's going to be a little bit harder to pass him. Might have gotten the apron just a little bit, does Taylor. Still right behind Hickson. Actually, really
Taylor
surprised.
looks.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was really surprised that Hickson had ran that high line through 3 and 4 that last time by. It looks like he's running the bottom now, and I think Taylor, he needs to really try to figure something out here quick. We've got 10 laps to go, coming up to 9.
Yep, we've got 10 laps to go. When you're right about 10 laps on that set of tires here for Jason S. Taylor, you get a big advantage early. He got a little bit of help to get there, but catching him's one thing, passing him's another. If you're Jason S. Taylor, are you just sitting on it and waiting for the right time to strike here because you know you have better rubber underneath you? You don't have to burn it off trying to make the big exciting pass here still with 10 to go.
And I think he once again got into the apron just a little bit. That made him get tight, start plowing up the track to allow Boyles to get there side by side. And don't look now, but Here comes Boisevert right behind them with the same tire strategy as Jason S. Taylor.
Yeah, boys were looking to the outside of Justin Boyles off of turn number 2 down the Nellis back straightaway. Taylor able to clear that battle for third, closing in on Hickson ever so slightly, but it's hundredths each corner. It's going to have to be a little better than that as we're inside of 10 to go.
7 laps remaining now. This could be any one of these guys at this point.
You made the comment a little bit earlier about discretion being the better part of valor. If your Jason S. Taylor is second or third good enough when you're 24th in points? Does that creep into your mind, or do you sit there going, man, he's right there. I want this win.
I've raced with Taylor enough times last season to know he loves racing and he loves to fight for every possible position he can get. I don't think second or third is on his mind. Taylor, he wants that win and he wants to lock himself into the playoffs. And with fresher tires,
I mean, that's huge. If you're able to if you're the driver who's 24th in points and you lock yourself into the playoffs, that is season changing. You now have 22 more races remaining that are nothing but experiments for the playoffs. That is a season changer if you're Jason S. Taylor.
absolutely. And our finale is at Phoenix. Next week is Phoenix. So if he can win tonight, he can start looking ahead all the way to November and seeing, how much now can help later. Once again, we're going to see many changes throughout the season with updates from iRacing. So nothing is going to be perfect practice until you get to that last race. But Taylor, he will be able to experiment, like you were saying. All right, well, this didn't work this time around, so let's try this, next time. And he is looking inside of Jake Hickson now, trying to take that lead away. Not quite able to clear.
3 now, 2.5 laps remaining down the back straightaway at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Jason S. Taylor is right there on the back bumper of Jake Hickson. He gave him a peek, showed him he was there. When does he make the big move? We're down to 2 to go. Taylor looks to the inside down the front straightaway.
Using that apron as much as he possibly can. I don't think Hickson is going to be able to fight much longer. Hickson run in the middle of the track. He's going to have a little bit of a run on the outside line, but they're still going to be side by side going into 3. Hickson is going to need a great corner here in 3 and 4. He's trying to pinch Taylor down. They're going to maybe make contact.
They almost make contact off the corner.
White flag is out.
Flag is out. 1 lap to go. Hickson chops Taylor down off of turn number 4. If there was any quarter given, there's none remaining. If Taylor gets there, you can expect him to use the bumper. That is for sure. Down the back straightaway into 3 and 4 the final time. Jake Hickson looks to be clean and green off of 4.
Off turn 4th for the final time. Hickson will win the Las Vegas 400 in the Galaxy Cup Series. Wow.
Fantastic race. Jason S. Taylor just says in the chat, I went full send for the win and you chopped me off. That was about as exciting of a race as you're going to see, real world or virtual, here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Fantastic run all the way around. And Jake Hickson was the dominant car of the night, one of the dominant cars of the night. And he's going to get to make a whole bunch of donuts here on the front straightaway.
And there he goes, already starting with those donuts.
And how about the run for William Boisvert? he got himself up into the 3rd position here, right at the finish. Fantastic stuff here. I mean, that race was intense from front to back, and now we'll work on getting our drivers here into the pre-interview room so we can talk to them. Hickson saying he can't move, so I think he may have blown the rear tires off that machine here. Also a very good night for the team as well, with Boisvert coming home in the 3rd position, and Boisvert out of the Archer Brothers team. Hickson out of the DAS Racer team, again, another of the Dynamic Autosports entries. And yeah, this has been a pretty good night for that kind of group of 6-7 race cars. And Jason S. Taylor out of the Black Flag team, once again, just a fantastic run for that car.
And I also think it's appropriate to give a shout out to Brian Mabry, finishing in 8th place after all that he went through tonight. That's a pretty good, solid finish for him, despite the kind of race he had.
Yeah, we talked about how much time he spent in the rough here on the front straightaway at Las Vegas, and yeah, there was a lot of really good racing all the way around here. What do you think? Should we bring our race winner in here?
Let's go ahead and do it. Hey, Jake Hickson.
There we go. Jake Hickson. Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say, hey, Jake Hickson, you got a copy?
Yeah, 10-4, loud and clear, guys.
What a race. Quite honestly, I didn't think you were going to be able to hold Jason S. Taylor off, but I got to know, what were you thinking there coming to the final laps? Or let's go back to the restart, knowing that Taylor had those fresher tires and only a handful of laps to go. What was on your mind there?
Well, I thought I had a better chance than I did, honestly, because I thought there were going to be a couple more cars in between us, but it looks like I couldn't exactly tell, but it looked like maybe there was a wreck, and he found his way through with no caution, and he just had the runs, and so I was honestly scared. I didn't think I was going to be able to hold him off, but I as you can see, I tried everything I could. I was trying to back up my corners just right, so he was right on me, on exit, and I could just be right there. And I knew if I was there, and if I could hold the top side, I thought I could hold him off just enough. And sure enough, it worked out just in my favor. But wow, yeah, what a race. That was a lot of fun, guys. That was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun to watch all of that unfold. But, when Jason S. Taylor ended up making that move there where he really sent it in, there might have... I don't think there was contact, but it looked close. Were you able to kind of get a quick breath, thinking, okay, now I've got a couple car lengths advantage on him, and I'm coming to the white?
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I knew, once he did that, I knew that was his move. I don't think he exactly wanted to do it right then. I think he probably would have waited, would have wanted to wait it to the final lap, right? But he had his run then, and then he took it, and I just defended best I could, and it worked to my advantage. And as soon as I had that lead, as soon as I got that little gap in between us, I knew I could finally take a deep breath and just hit my marks in the last 2 corners, and I knew it was mine from then on out.
Definitely great.
What's that like as the driver, where you get the heart rate up, you're on full tilt at that point. How do you get yourself calmed down? Because you've only got about 8 seconds down the back straightaway before you have to hit the marks clean again, or he's going to be right there.
Well, you just kind of go back at that point. You kind of go back to practice. You just rely on the laps that you've done earlier in the week, and just go from there. And that's what I did. I knew once he did that, I just remember just go back to practice laps. Just go back to your let it off where you're supposed to with your foot, and that's what I relied on. Just thinking about practice and just deep breaths. as soon as I crossed that white line.
Well,
it was a fantastic win for you tonight, and it's a huge points night. You're locked into the playoffs now, so now you get to play around the rest of the season and start working on some stuff here. Who would you like to thank?
I'd like to thank my parents for watching back home. You know, I know they're excited. They're watching it, and I'd really like to give a big shout out to my wife again, Maggie. She had to put up with a lot of this week because we had testing for this and testing for Rotopro in the truck. So there was a lot of racing going on this week in our household. So I really want to give a big shout out to Maggie for putting up with me this week and then let me do all this racing. And lastly, I want to thank you guys. You guys, I watched the race last week at Homestead, Homestead where we were, and that was a blast. Y'all did a excellent job broadcasting the race. So looking forward to watching this one. So thanks again, guys, up in the booth.
Alrighty, well, that's number 32 of Jake Hickson. Congrats to him on the win. Let's go ahead and bring in second place driver Jason S. Taylor.
Hey fellas, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. Man, that was insane to watch, that restart. From you coming back from I believe 10th place. I know firsthand that you like gaining every position you possibly can, and that was exciting to watch. Just a little bit too short. Take us through that restart.
Yeah, the Black Flag CC O'Brien Chevy was real fast, and I on the long run specifically, so I knew I needed a tire advantage if I was going to keep up on the short run. So when the other guys had 5 laps on their tires, I was like, screw this. There's only like 15 people on the lead lap. I'm going to go grab tires and hope I can get a really good run on the restart. And on the restart, the top lane from like 4th or 5th on back just didn't go. And first gear restart, shifted and jumped to the outside line and got up to 5th before turn 1.
Were you committed to that tire call of coming into the pits, or if you saw everybody else in front of you come, were you going to try to play the track position game? Were you prepared to be flexible there, or did you know that it was going to take 4 tires to have a shot?
I knew it was going to take 4 tires to have a shot. Jake was fast all night, every lap of the daggone race. But there was a couple laps in there from like 30 to 45 that I would beat his pace. So I knew if I had better tires than him, I would be able to challenge. And 2 to go, I just threw it in there because I got the run a little earlier than I'd wanted to. And hats off to Jake. He was running beautiful lines.
Was the plan to lift? Because it looked like you sort of he made the chop move on you. You probably could have kept the car going in a completely straight line without lifting and taken him out and gotten the win. Maybe you take yourself out in the process. What's that instantaneous reaction like behind the wheel?
I think my left quarter got his door. My left front quarter got his door, and as soon as that happened, it kind of nosed me down a little bit. So I just a little bit of throttle off and back in it to not wreck each other. And I wasn't gonna wreck him for the win, but I damn sure wasn't coming off if we didn't make contact.
Well, before we let you go, do you have any sponsors, team shout-outs you'd like to give?
Yeah, my boys over in Black Flag Motorsports, awesome work this week, getting the testing in, figuring out how to drive this insane place, and CC O'Brien's for the awesome sponsorship.
Alrighty. Well, good job once again on second place.
Awesome broadcast, boys. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the number 37 of Jason S. Taylor. We're going to bring in third place finisher, number 47 of William Boisvert. Chris, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, William, that was a heck of a show you put on tonight. You were The Hard Charger Award, we don't have a sponsor for it, but we probably should. You gained 29 spots from the drop of the green flag. We know there were some early issues up front there, but how are you able to gain that much ground
To be
with
honest,
as talented of a field as we have?
I have no clue, man. To be honest, because I was like mediocre at best throughout the whole race. I struggled to stay in the top 15. I think I just managed to avoid all the wrecks well, and yeah, at the end I just got lucky. I chose to pit with 20 to go, and I could just blow by everyone with fresher tires. But to give you an idea, I just had the open setup that iRacing gives us. I didn't, change anything on it because I have no clue what to do on these mile and a half. So I'm pretty happy with that result. It's my best all season so far.
Yeah, that's one of the things we talked about a lot tonight was that drivers had the opportunity to make some big ground in the points. You were already fourth in points, but Ty Ippolito, the points leader, had a awful night. Dylan Kritz did not have a really good night. That's got to feel pretty good now, knowing that you're not locked in by any stretch, but you definitely have a little bit of breathing room now.
Absolutely. I'm really happy about that too.
So congratulations on the third place run here. Any family, friends, team shout outs that you want to make?
Well, I want to say hi to my boys in the Archer Brothers Esports, and I hope to get a win pretty soon, man. I got 2 second places last year, and I couldn't quite close the deal, so I'm looking forward to that first win.
Well, congratulations on the run tonight. That was an absolute blast watching you come through the field. So congratulations on the run.
All right, thank you so much. See you next time, guys.
So there you go. That's William Boisvert, pilot of the number 47 machine. And how about this one, Josh? Jason S. Taylor just posted a a gif of Michael Jordan saying, "Me today, flu game like a mother, F the COVID vaccine." I would not want to run a 400-mile race here feeling that garbagey for sure. So that just makes the performance even more impressive.
Yeah, that is absolutely impressive. We've seen in the real NASCAR world drivers like Brad Keselowski coming to races not feeling good and going out there and actually winning the race. I can't remember where that was. It was a couple years ago though. It might have been here at Las Vegas or Atlanta. 100% sure, but that run was impressive as it was. So just to kind of see that just makes it, like you said, even more impressive.
Yeah, it was a really great show tonight. We saw some probable contenders having early issues. We got to talk about a lot of names that you might not normally talk about. For the first true mile and a half of the year, I don't think we could have asked for a better race. And then how about it? We come up over the next 3 weeks. We go to Phoenix, Arizona, which is a completely unique venue. Then we head to Atlanta, which is about as rough as you're going to get for a racetrack on iRacing. And then Bristol Dirt. So we've got 3 more chances for new winners here coming up over the next 3 weeks or so. And then, oh, by the way, we'll head to Martinsville as well.
Yeah. Just 3 different tracks all around. It's going to be very tough the next few races of that stretch. I don't know if I'd be more excited as a broadcaster or a race car driver to be through that stretch.
Yeah, I am looking forward to it for sure. I mean, obviously the biggest of the question marks is the Bristol Dirt Race. It's going to be interesting to see what these teams choose to do with that, because the one school of thought says, let's get a ton of practice in, let's really work hard to get this thing nailed down. The flip side of the coin says it's our only dirt race of the year. Are we better off prepping for Richmond, Kansas, Darlington, kind of more of the tracks that are generally in the wheelhouse for these race teams every week. Excuse me. So that basically then means that's the biggest wild card we have, even bigger than the plate races.
I think, it's going to be a big wild card. I don't know really if drivers might just kind of shrug it off and pay more attention to Richmond or, one of the tracks right around that race. I think drivers, they still look at it as a chance to lock themselves into the playoffs. And, of course, the bragging rights. You're going to want to be able to say, hey, I was the first winner in a dirt race in the Galaxy Cup Series. So, apologies for that coming up on screen there, but it's all about the bragging rights. Those drivers, I think it's going to be an insane race. I'm not so sure if I'm looking forward to it as a driver because I know I'm bad at dirt, and I'm sure there's a lot of my fellow racers in the Galaxy Cup Series that can say the same thing, that they're looking at it and going, man, it's going to be a wild one, but I'm going to have to start grinding out some dirt racing.
Yeah, and even before that, we like we mentioned, we have Phoenix and Atlanta. I would say your drivers that were fast heading into tonight is probably who you're going to be looking for at a place like Atlanta. Not complete, not the same shape, but a very similar feel where it's typically a lot of long green flag runs. You're trying to build that long run setup into the car. Phoenix is a total kind of oddball. I mean, you can run all the way down to the apron. There are so many places you can go at Phoenix. A lot of ways to ruin your night and somebody else's night if you miss the setup just a little bit. So we have a really exciting next few weeks coming up here in the Galaxy Cup Series.
Yeah, and I think next week at Phoenix, the car to watch out for is the number 42. That Josh Coppernell guy. He won. The race is going to be on March 13th. So Josh, it'll be his last day as a 22-year-old, and so he's going to want to take the win for his birthday. But no, in all seriousness, Phoenix, it's a tough track, tough place to get around. So yeah, it should be a really good race, and a lot of drivers can use that to learn what it's going to be like when we visit that for the championship finale in November.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. There is no better test session available than going to the real thing and doing the actual race in the conditions that you're going to run it in. Some of these drivers know that they've got a shot, that they're locked in. Obviously, Jake Hickson, now on the strength of 2 wins, should be your points leader at the end of the night. He's in full prep mode for championship weekend. But there's a lot of teams that are now starting to say, hey, we've got to make a move. We're getting into this here and we're falling a little bit behind. So it'll be really interesting and a ton of fun coming up next Saturday night.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Looking forward to it a lot, and it's going to be a good one.
Yes, sir, it is. So what do you think we wrap things up here from Las Vegas Motor Speedway? Congratulations to Jake Hickson, our winner tonight in the Las Vegas 400 over Jason S. Taylor and William Boisvert, your top 3 podium finishers. For Josh Coppernell and everybody here at JCTV, my name is Chris Graham. It's been a pleasure to bring this one to you tonight. We will see you next Saturday.